This is committee meeting for the month of September. And it's 2024, how time flies. This is my co-chair, Joe Rasucha. This meeting is being live streamed on YouTube, just so you're all aware, it lives there forever. If you have not, please sign up for the MCB4 email blast listserv so that you can get emails about what's happening in the community. And so that you can get agendas for the meetings that are here. Let's see, if this is your first meeting, the run-up show is that first, what we will do is we'll have a presentation by the presenters here. And then next, questions and comments come from the committee members who are sitting here around the table. Okay, and then next.
And some online.
And some online, that's right, thank you. And then what we will do, I have to remember, people are online. And then next, what we will do is the discussion will go to the public and they can ask questions and make comments. And if you are from the public and you want to speak, please raise your hand. We'll call on you when it's that time. Also, you need to speak loud so that the microphone can pick up what you have to say. It is a sensitive microphone, it works well. Okay, but just if you could speak up louder than normal. And then finally, the discussion comes back to committee. We talk about writing a resolution. And then we vote on that, and that draft letter will then go to full board, and that's where the final vote occurs, okay? And the last thing is the Manhattan Community Board policy and New York State open meetings law. According to that, board members are expected to attend this meeting in person unless there is a disability and or an extraordinary circumstance. And that is it that I have.
So welcome everybody tonight.
Oh, do we want to do introduction?
Yeah. So I'm gonna go around the table first to committee members and then to all the guests that we have. Start with Roberta.
Roberta Barnett, member of the committee. Katie Stokes, member.
Roll.
My name is Raul Larios. I live in Hell's Kitchen and I also happen to live at the Hudson. So therefore I cannot vote or must vote through me.
Present not eligible.
And present not eligible and cannot make motions or second any motions. Pete Diaz.
Katie Savage, member of the committee.
Member of the committee.
Kevin Collins, member of the committee.
Joe Rasucha, co-chair.
Maria.
Travis Rogers, public member.
And then we'll go around and hear. Oh, sorry, online. You're on mute, Paul, as always.
Paul Ames, public member, unmuted.
Thank you.
Nelly Gonzalez is our assistant district manager. She is administering the meeting. We'll go to the applicant next and then the rest of the tenants. Applicant?
Yes, my name is Edwin Tang from Tang Studio Architect. I'm the architect for the Henry Hudson residences.
Alberto Saidi from CSC, I'm the developer.
Joe Goldsmith from Cooker Marino, attorney for the developer.
Last developer. Yeah.
Sal Smecki, developer.
And then we'll go around the room, introduce yourself. Why you're, I'm assuming most people are tenants, so if you just tell us who you are. Yes?
Yeah, Leo Jenkins, I'm a tenant at the Hudson.
Bill tenant since 1981.
Ma'am?
Peggy Jane, I'm a tenant for 55 years.
Pat Rockenborough, I've been there for 50 years. And
Max Barton, I'm with the ownership group.
Max Devon, also with the ownership group.
I'm sorry. Just checking. Sir?
So I got time. I've been in the building since 1978.
Rodriguez, I'm in the building since 1980. Maria Rodriguez, I've been in the building since more than 50 years.
My name is Karina Filia. I've been in the building since 1979.
Sir? Your name
Jones One Weeks,
and how long have you lived there?
over 40 years.
Yes, I Owen Lamb, I've been living there since 1978.
Great. So,
Wait,
I miss, oh, I apologize.
My name is Teresa Carter and I live in the building 45 years.
Thank you. So we have a very good group of tenants sitting here tonight for this presentation, and I want to, before we hear from the applicant, I want to set the stage for the committee as to what we're doing and why we're doing it, right? So this is a cure for harassment application. In the Clinton Special Zoning District, that's in Yard Special Zoning District, and Westchester Special Zoning District and parts of the Garment Center District, there's a requirement that before you can alter a building or demolish a building, you must secure a certificate of no harassment. How that works is the city of New York through HPD, Housing Preservation and Development, puts out a notice. They ask people to respond, and if there's a response, then they do an investigation based upon those responses. And it goes two ways. One is nothing is found or something is found. And if there's enough claims or allegations, then it goes to an actual hearing at the Office of Administrative Tribunals and Hearings. And then there's a finding. If you have a finding of harassment on your building, you are required, if you want to proceed ahead and alter that building, or in some cases demolish that building, to have a cure for harassment. And specifically in the zoning, and it was established, that cure was established in 1990. You, as the owner, must provide 20% of the residential floor area as affordable housing in perpetuity. And it is done through a submission to HPD that reviews plans for compliance, all kinds of requirements, and very lengthy. And then at the end, that comes to the community board for our public review. And then we, as a board, normally will write a letter and give comments about it. It is handled in the same way that inclusionary housing applications are handled. And this committee has handled multiple applications like that. And that's the reason I dropped in the Dropbox today a template to look as the kinds of letters that we wrote before. And those letters are very specific. It gives the background of the project. It says, here's what's proposed in terms of the various units, sizes, the income bands. It lays out how the units are distributed. And if we have a problem with distribution, meaning if they're concentrated too much on one floor or another, what our recommendation is to change. We sometimes ask to change the numbers of the types of units, 1, 2, 3 bedrooms, and that's for 2 bedrooms. We talk about apartment finishes. And one of the things that we have listed in this kind of letters is to make sure that the market rate finishes, that all the units, affordable or not, have the same apartment finishes throughout. That's a very important thing for our board to be done. We talk about amenities and what the amenities are. We have had a classic case in our district where a developer came to propose something and literally said the children's playroom would have like $1,000 a year fee on it. And I think some of our members almost left across the table to say, no, that didn't happen. And the answer was they didn't want those people mixing with the market units. So different developers have different angles on how these things happen. And then we are very specific and we talk about other things like how it's going to be marketed. Many of our members are concerned about trash removal. And there's an item here in this thing in front of us today. And we lay out what we are requesting. And then the developer, prior to our acting at our meeting, which happened in October, would give us a commitment letter back with all the items we talked about to work out together or to change in the project. So that is a basic way inclusionary works. Now, set the table for this building here. It's a Hudson Hotel. And I want to note that the harassment issue is not about the owner. It travels with the land. So it's an investigation going back. And normally it's prior owners that have done the harassment. By the time it comes to this committee, there's a new owner. But it doesn't matter. It's not clean hands, dirty hands. And that's to avoid the idea that someone could do the harassment, pass it off and sell it to somebody, and then make a profit. So this building is originally an SRO hotel, an SRO building with almost 1,000 units in it. It was served as dorms and different kind of functional uses. WNET was in the ground part of this building for decades and decades. And it was it was nurses housing, you name it. It was used for various things. Channel 14.
Oh.
Yeah. And then it was purchased by Inclusionary. who converted it to a boutique hotel. And that boutique hotel, and it's on the ground floor, became the subject of, I don't know, 42 community board meetings. Because the amount of disturbance and trouble from that club, not only to the building and the tenants who live there, but to the 650 units in Columbus apartments right across the street, was unbelievable this morning for the longest time. Eventually, the hotel closed, COVID entered. When did you purchase, not purchase, but when did you get the lease?
May of 22.
May, so post-COVID, the new developers stepped in. And so that's where we are today. So they've gone through a whole process, harassment has been found, and presented to us tonight is the plan to cure that harassment. So first, do people understand that in general? I'm gonna ask the public first.
Question.
Yes,
I thought, I heard you say 20%?
28%.
28%.
28%. And again, I want to note one thing that's important. We're not curing the harassment for the people who've been harassed. That's a separate matter that we may put conditions in for a letter about how they can be helped. We are curing the harassment, the legal finding of harassment that happened on this building. And it's a plan to provide these permanently affordable units. So. Yeah, turn it over to you. Yes,
When did that harassment happen?
it's happened over time.
Over time?
Yeah. So there's, all sorts of allegations, and then the issue that we have here, very particular to this building, is that when this owner purchased, they were permits issued in error by DOB, and they began to do work in the building without. In other words, there was work that well exceeded the permits that could be done in a building in the Clinton Special Zoning District. And so that got clawed back, stop work orders, that kind of stuff. Now, we have issues about that today too, we're gonna talk about a bit, but the point of it is that we got to this point where now this building is going to be, the cure will happen, there'll be permanently affordable units. And our goal tonight is not only to make sure that that whole plan makes sense, meets our requirements, stuff that we've done for year after year, but also to make sure that the tenants get the good end of the stick in this whole process.
Good.
Yes,
Just to go back to his question was, right?
Yeah.
And you said that it happened before these new owners?
there was harassment prior and when these new owners were here. There's a whole continuum of harassment in this building.
Well, as a person that lives there,
Yes.
I'm an attorney as well. I've actually worked with some of the past administrations.
Mhm.
I've actually spoken before the community board. The harassment for most of us started when they showed up in May of 2022.
Okay, irrespective,
No, I just
Right.
want to make that.
no, for clarity, irrespective, if it happened in 1980, or if it happened in 1990, or if it happened, the Clinton Special Zoning District is unique. The harassment is, it says in the document 15 years, but if there's any allegations, it goes back to 1973.
Right.
So anybody who did anything, it stays with the property. And we've had many buildings like this, and the example most people know is the Windermere on 57th and 9th, that went through multiple owners, multiple different types of harassment.
If I can complete my point though?
Yeah,
All right, so I hope that at some point you ask each of these tenants, my neighbors, because they're the nightmare that showed up.
so I will say, I will say,
Finish what I'm saying.
no, I cut you off for the reason. We're not here to adjudicate the finding of harassment. That's been found. We know this, right? We're here to move forward and to make sure that as part of this plan, that the people who live in this building actually get a benefit, not just some abstract idea.
Agreed, but I wanted him to appreciate how we feel.
I understand, but I would appreciate if you speak for yourself. a little.
No, actually, quite a few of my neighbors have been contacting me to speak on their behalf.
Okay, well,
Okay.
but today, everyone's here so they can speak on their own, and that's what we're gonna definitely
Okay,
do.
very good. If I could just make my point, that to his question again, many of us will probably be clear that we were very satisfied until they showed up. And they have disregarded all reasonable rules and regs that should have been.
There was major construction done here without the proper permits. And I'm interrupting you, I'm interrupting you because we cannot go through and talk about what has happened.
But let me finish what I'm saying.
I feel feel like you're interested in making a point.
Well, you,
So,
you want to
you're-
finish my statement? Paul?
No.
You know what I'm gonna say?
I'd like you to get right to the end.
You want me to get right to the
Yes.
end?
Yeah, we have to
Okay,
move along.
so they have offered me, I actually received a contract, which they should have provided. They tried to move me out, they keep striking deals, and they keep misleading these tenants. They're meeting with them privately, and they're saying things to them which have them scared of their status. Some of them think that they can lose their rent stabilization status.
I agree.
Okay, there's a lot of things that are going on here, so I just want to get that across.
I understand.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
I'm sorry,
You
let me just, I'm gonna ask you to please wait. There is a portion, as I said, the run of shows, the presenters first, then the committee, then we go to the public. What you're describing sounds like it's really significant and important to be heard when we get to that part, okay?
Very good.
If you could just wait a little bit, but please make sure you make the points that you need to make that are significant for us. So
What I want to start with is a couple of housekeeping items first, right? The committee members received a Dropbox with a lot of information in it, right? I did a review today of that, and missing from that submission so far, so we're requesting this from the owner, please, is none of the normal financial information we normally receive. We get a development budget, sources and uses, an operating budget. We have a whole sort of thing that is part of this package. It must have not been submitted for whatever reason. Can you please submit this to?
We had sent the scope of work document
Right.
that was following the HPD format for how much construction budget was anticipated. That was in an August 30th email to Nelly.
It was not in our Dropbox, unfortunately.
Okay, so
So this is what I want to talk about.
sure, we can get the
But
file.
beyond that, we normally get a full financial picture. That's a standard thing for Cure or for Inclusionary. And my concern is, did you provide it and did not provide it to us, or did HPD not ask you for it? Because normally they do.
They asked us for the scope of work document, which is a construction budget.
just, I think in here,
No, I'm talking, we normally get a full financial submission, not just a scope of work document. That is a backup as part of it.
Right. That maybe my teammates know.
We submit everything that HPD requested from us. If there's anything additional,
I think maybe we'll have a conversation with them because this is a part of their standard submission that they do all the time. It's like nothing new. And that helps us understand the whole project, right? The scale, what's happening. Okay, so if you can begin to make presentation.
Will the file be
Yeah, we can do that.
put on the screen
You
so
have a,
everyone can see?
Nelly, can you put up the presentation? Is that the file name?
Yes, I
Yeah.
will. Give me 1 sec.
I also have a couple more hard copies in case,
No, look at it online.
yeah, I think it's easier to see it on the screen.
Also, I want to note that we're joined by Councilmember Gail Brewer tonight. Remotely.
Okay, so I'm gonna walk through the floor plans that were reviewed by the HPD. They recently approved the build's application portion a few days ago.
Can you explain what that is, please?
The build's application unit reviews for accessibility compliance for tenants with disabilities, hearing disabilities, vision, audible disabilities. So they have a rigorous review procedure to make sure bathroom sizes, facilities are properly designed to the standards for people who have disability needs. So I'm gonna kind of walk you through the drawing set, and then there's all the information will be there. So this is the West 58th facade of the building. This is showing the new facade work that is ongoing. This portion does not require HPD approval. It's part of the facade work. You may see it, tenants currently, when you walk out the building, you will see it used to be gray, now it's black. If you may move on to the next slide, Nelly, or whoever's controlling.
No, yeah.
Yeah, this is just the drawing sheet showing the exterior elevations of the building. So on the bottom, you see on the lower left is the West 58th Street frontage that you just saw on the previous slide. On the lower right is the West 57th Street facade, and then the top two are just building sections showing you how many stories, how tall the building is. Next slide. This is the 28% that Joe was alluding to earlier. So the statutory requirement as part of a CURE application requires that 28% of the total residential floor area of the building is designated towards low-income housing. This is a formula that HPD has written in their rules that we have to follow. All square footages are based on net square feet, which means we don't count the thickness of the walls. It's the usable area within every unit. So the 28%, we hit 28.01%, that comes out to 102,000 square feet of low-income housing floor area. On the lower right, the final conversion outcome is going to result in 444 total units of residential in the building, of which 140 are low-income housing permanently. That amounts to the 28% requirement in the zoning. On the very lower right is within the 140 affordable units, the bedroom mix breakdown. So the zoning requirement mandates that at least 75% of all the affordable units have to have at least one bedroom. And at least 50% of all the affordable units have to have two bedrooms. So you can see here we have 74 two bedrooms that are low income, 31 one bedrooms that are low income, and 35 studio units, totaling 140 units in the building. Next slide, please. This is the vertical distribution of the location of all the affordable units in the building. So on the very top is the 23rd floor, which is the final floor of residential. And going down all the way to the 3rd floor are going to be where all the residential units are located, both market rate and affordable. So this is just showing you on every floor which designated units, and you'll see in future slides where they are, which units are affordable. So the idea is zoning requirements say that you can't squeeze all of the affordable units on certain floors and have the other market rate on other floors. You have to evenly spread them out throughout the building.
And these are the apartment numbers there.
These are the actual apartment numbers, which correspond to the floor plans, which will come up. So this is a vertical distribution table. This is following HPD's standard format as part of the application. Next slide, please. This is just a continuation of the previous slide showing you the total number of units per floor. It was meant to be one page, but it was too wide to
You can get this from our Dropbox. We'll get the whole thing. Make it easier. Appreciate it.
total 140 units. Next slide, please. This is showing the horizontal distribution on every floor. So the idea is, we don't want any floor to have too heavy of a concentration of affordable units versus market rate. We want to roughly spread them out as best as we can. Now, there are existing building constraints that we had to work around. So it's not perfectly the same percentage on every floor. There are certain floors that have a slightly higher percentage of affordable units. Certain floors have a slightly lower percentage of affordable units. So overall, I would say they average around a third per floor. As far as the number of affordable units compared to market rate units. Next slide, please. This is showing the bedroom mix I spoke about earlier. It's broken down in more detail. So the first column shows you the number of units per bedroom mix. So you can see that we're following the requirement to have at least half of them to be two bedrooms, half of the affordable units to be two bedroom units. And then the balance is one bedroom and studio units. Next slide, please. So this is a long list of all the affordable units on each floor, how many bedrooms, how many square feet, and their apartment number labeling.
And the affordables in orange.
These are all affordable.
Oh,
The orange and dark orange and light orange is just about how many bedrooms.
but then that's not consistent.
Oh, okay. I think it was an internal kind of marking.
Okay.
I think you can disregard the color. It's more about every unit, how many rooms and how many square feet. On the right two columns are the units that are designated for mobility impairment occupants and also hearing and vision impairment occupants. There's a requirement that 5% of all the units of the entire building are assigned to comply with mobility impairment requirements, which are special. They call them UFAS, I forgot what that stands for. It has to do with United Federal Accessibility Standards. It's a federal requirement.
Uniform federal assessment.
Uniform, yes, thank you. So they have, above and beyond the standard accessible requirements, there are even more stringent, requirements relating to clearances around toilets, kitchen counters, depth of sinks, of that nature, that have to follow these additional requirements. So they're assigned, by unit. And then the last three are hearing and vision impairment units. These are for occupants who cannot see well or hear well. So the requirement is to make sure that the fire alarm designation devices or activation devices have visual signals and audible sounds so that the occupants know if there's an emergency in the building. Next,
I'm sorry, is that, sorry. I'm not sure if I'm reading this right, but like under the net square footage, like the first one, the 2-bedroom, it looks like it's saying it's 492 square feet for a 2-bedroom. Is that?
that's net square feet.
What's the net square?
Yeah, what's
Net,
net
net means it's
versus-
inside the walls.
The wall area is not, it cannot be counted.
So it's the floor, it's the usable floor
It's the
space.
usable floor
And does
space.
that include also where cabinets for the kitchen are placed or not including any of those types of
It
things?
includes the cabinet counter of the kitchen.
So the interior walls,
Yes, interior walls.
so
So when you see an apartment that is advertised, it is not net. They advertise.
Yeah, I was trying to like.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I knew you were going
wait
with
a
that.
second.
Yeah. It's not net, right?
Could you like, I don't know, just like ballpark it? Like if something is 492 net square feet, about how many?
If that was a market rate apartment, how would it be marketed? So,
They usually do gross for
Right, I know.
marketing purposes, which includes like chases and.
no, but I'm saying is approximately, this would be like 525, 550.
Yeah, I would, yeah.
That's what Katie's trying to figure out. Like,
Yeah, I'm just trying
Yeah,
to make the comparison.
very small, because
Yeah.
there's a 2-bedroom listed here for, there's 437 square feet. I just can't imagine how you,
well, we're gonna see plans.
okay.
We're gonna have, yeah, we have plans.
Oh, and my question was gonna be,
No.
I just want to say something. My studio apartment is not listed there. It's
Correct.
2031.
Right. These are just the affordable units that are listed right now.
Correct.
We're gonna talk about how the tenants connect with the plan and the stuff. We're not quite there yet in the discussion.
Environment is the number of my.
Right, this is the current HPD plan, which is gonna be subject to
Yeah,
change.
I should clarify, the current 140 affordable units do not include the SRO units. The SRO units are still to be preserved.
They don't include any of the existing tenants units
Correct,
right now,
right now.
right now. I think that's the key word.
and I was just gonna ask, I heard you mention, I think you mentioned smoke alarms that have, lights flashing and,
Strokes, that's true.
Strokes,
but is that part of the 5%
Yeah.
of all the units?
yes,
mentioned earlier.
well, we have a full fire alarm system for every unit
But
in
it's
the
still
building.
visually impaired.
No, for visual.
But for visual impairment, yes, we have this.
That was included.
Yes.
That was all. Thank you.
Okay, and to your point,
Do not-
it does not include the tenants' rooms right now.
At all.
At all, but there were other rooms that were destroyed through their demolition, which were rent stabilized apartments.
So we're gonna talk about that in a second too.
Okay, but I just want that clear.
No, we're gonna come back to that in much more detail than that. Yes,
Are the visually impaired, units located near the elevators? For sake of, the safety and.
All the hallways are, following code requirements, so I
the
can't,
answer is no.
the answer is no.
It's just no, because visually impaired are not required to be near elevators.
I didn't understand why.
And I understand why, but it's a visually impaired issue, having built these units. It's if someone is visually impaired or hearing impaired, that they're able to know what's happening. If there's an alarm going off, people may not be able to hear an alarm, so there's a flashing stroke kind of thing,
From convenience, I'm
Right,
looking at that
Right,
from that.
but even from mobility is not necessarily in a wheelchair. There's different types of mobility
Yes,
impairments.
that's
So
what I
that-
understand.
I've learned this, it's to make things easier, not to make things perfect.
Next slide, please. Again, next slide. This is just a long list and everyone will get this, file. Keep going. Okay, next slide. So this is the calculation for how many percent of mobility impaired units and hearing and vision impaired units that are required. This is a standard HPD form that we had to populate. So it's basically 5% mobility impairment and 2% hearing and vision impairment. So it comes out to 7 affordable and 15 or 16 market rate are allocated towards mobility impairment, and then 3 affordable and 6 market rate are allocated towards hearing and vision impairment. And those are the rooms, the numbers.
Well, and here's,
She came in person.
and here's the council member person.
Well, it's me.
We made it.
Welcome, Gail Brooks. Thank you for being here.
Okay, any questions? I'm gonna move on to the next slide for the floor plan, so you can see. Next slide, please.
Question.
Oh, sure.
No, we're not, we can't, we gotta do the committee members first as we talk about,
Okay,
and we're gonna get into this in super detail.
okay, so here is a typical existing floor plan of the previous condition of the hotel. This is the 14th floor demolition plan that's proposed. Just to give everyone a sense of how many rooms and how they were arranged. So it's kind of a U-shaped with a port in the middle. There are 4 exit stairs throughout this U-shaped corridor, and along the corridor, left and right, top and bottom, all the red are the walls separating every existing hotel unit. So this is before the proposed work. This was a typical hotel floor condition. There were like, I want to say 50 rooms, more than that. There's the C of O says there are 959 hotel rooms today. So that must mean it's like 50 or 60 rooms per floor, hotel rooms. So just to give everyone kind of, this is where we were, and where we are going is, next slide. Next slide, please. So I'm gonna walk you through, from the ground floor and going up, going back once to the ground floor, please.
Go back one, Nelly.
So on the right side is West 58th Street, on the left side is West 57th Street. The SRO's tenant entrance and lobby is on the left side. It's been there for many years. The right side is the residential lobby as part of the conversion. And that's also where the big gray, the black facade work that's ongoing now. That's where it's occurring.
On the right side.
On the right side, which is West 58.
But there will be only one entrance.
There will be only one entrance for residential. There's no separation of market
Correct.
rate or affordable. It's all coming through the same West 58th Street. Next slide.
You could take over all the developers in New York for me.
Okay,
No, you don't want that. You really don't want that.
You see some of the other-
Yeah, you don't want that.
Some of the other ones are- Go ahead.
Go ahead.
okay, this is the 3rd floor,
Yeah.
where the
Yeah.
residential begins. So again, we're converting the hotel floors to residential. now. So whereas before you saw the previous with the red room, so every hotel room had a window. So now you'll see layouts where every apartment will have like 3 windows. So every 2-bedroom has 3 windows, every 1-bedroom has 2 windows, every studio has 1 window. So you'll see that there more or less, the hallway is not changed. It's just that the hotel rooms were combined to make bigger units. The bathrooms are redone for accessibility standards. Kitchens are installed because a lot of the hotel rooms, they don't have kitchens. Some SRO units have kitchens, but hotel rooms do not. So this is the 3rd floor. Next slide. Here is the 4th floor. And you can see that the blue labeled units are the low-income housing units. The black labeled units are the market rate. So we did our best to spread them out evenly, so they're not bunched up in one corner or one end of the floor. So we wanted to spread them out, so it's integrated. Next page. Here is the 5th floor.
I think you can go through this quickly
Yeah,
because it's so small, I really can't see it.
Yeah.
It's better to look at it online, but it is helpful to look at the blue versus the black, so you can see the distribution and integration.
Next slide. 6th floor, next slide.
I'm sorry, what is the gold?
So the gold,
Ah.
okay, yeah, that's a good question. The gold are units that have windows that are facing the property line. They're on the property line overlooking the rooftop of the corner neighboring building. These are called lot line windows.
So they can't be relied upon for light and air.
For light and air,
Oh,
for
because something
residential,
could be built there.
yes.
Oh.
However, they're legacy windows from the original building construction back in 1929. They were always units, they're legal hotel units with those windows, lot line windows. And the Department of Buildings did not want to allow them to continue to be used for light and air if they were to be taken away from hotel status to long-term residential status. So at this moment, we can only retain them as hotel units, but we did merge, every window was a hotel room, we merged them so that they're like hotel suites with multiple windows.
So we're gonna want to delve deeper into that. I asked you the question earlier, how that works in the build. I understand what the Department of Buildings wants, but how does that work from an operational point of view? So I live on a floor, that's a residential floor, now I have a hotel person coming in and out. I mean, we're gonna kind of ask you questions, how this whole thing gets worked and managed.
The question, Joe, before we go,
Yeah.
the windows, some look onto the street, some look on.
No, they overlook, there's another property on the corner of 9th Avenue and West 58th.
Right.
They are currently, I believe, a 4-story rent stabilized apartment buildings. They also have windows facing the lot line. They have a little,
Every yard.
a court with windows facing them. So this court is only 4 stories tall, but then the Hudson is 24 stories.
Okay.
So right now, the majority of the Hudson windows are just open and exposed.
Windows, actual
But
windows.
there is a, yes, there's a potential for the corner building to one day build up to their maximum potential, which is around 10 to 12 stories. So those floors below could be blocked, that's the DOB's concern. So they didn't want us to make them residential. If the hotel, as a grandfathered hotel window, leave them as B, you have the right to continue. Just don't.
To continue the hotel use.
Residential, hotel use, yes.
Sure. So this is a super unique circumstance here.
Yeah.
Let's figure out how to manage here.
Huh.
Katie, thoughts on this?
No, so, but it looks like, just from a quick look through, so it looks like every floor of the building then has
It's the ones that are in
a
that,
few of
that gold
these
color.
hotel.
Starting from the
units.
4th floor. Yeah. The 3rd floor doesn't have units there.
Yeah,
And you'll
okay,
see the
but-
3rd floor is blocked out with
Storage
Yeah.
and stuff.
storage and backup
All
house.
right.
Yeah, this is like a, I understand that, like, what are these things?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Next slide, please. Okay, this is the 17th, I believe. You'll see on the bottom, there's an orange shaded unit. As we go up the building, you start to see more and more of the orange shaded units. These are the existing SRO units. So we are not including them as part of a low income application. They are existing, there are tenants there. We have to preserve them. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. So here, there's another SRO on the upper left of the building. You see an orange shaded unit. That's an existing SRO unit. Next slide. No SRO units here. This is, can't read the number, but it's.
Just call them existing tenant units. It's easier.
Yeah. Next slide. Okay, now the building shrinks back, starting from 15, because the building sets back, the floor plate shrinks a little bit. There's an existing tenant on the upper right, in the orange.
But that's technically in a place where you can't open the windows, right?
Well, that particular unit faces west 50.
Oh, I see.
So it has a street facing, it has 2 windows, there's a corner, it's like a corner condition.
Got it, okay, got it.
Next page. So here, you see the left side of the building, both at the top and the bottom, there are existing tenants. Next slide. No tenants on, there's a tenant toward the middle.
Yeah.
By the court, upper corner of the court.
Where is that?
Right.
19,
Oh, that would be me, yeah.
okay, next slide. Here we have a few more tenants on the top of the floor plan. On the upper left. So there's a whole row of existing tenants right there. Next slide. Here this is 21, I believe. There are a lot of tenants on this floor. You can see the orange, and then next slide. Here again, 22, there's an existing population of tenants here. And then next slide is the last floor of the conversion, it's 23. Again, we have some mix of affordable and market rate, and also lot line units that have to stay as hotel. Next slide. I think that's the end of it. That's the top floor of it. So we went from 3 through 23.
It's a 24th floor.
There's a 24th floor with a manager's unit and
That's where the owners live.
a penthouse unit.
Current.
Right, so I am gonna ask again, that, you know, crosstalk here.
We failed to
No,
mention.
I understand that. I was about to ask them about the upper floor, and the question I asked earlier is that irrespective of what is part of the cure plan, the zoning reads that it's 20% of all residential floor area, including that unit.
Including the
So
24th.
irrespective if it's not part of it, it is included in the calculation, which gets us the maximum yield of affordable units.
Yes. Right. That's the end of my presentation. I will open the floor for questions.
So I think we have more presentation than just
Oh,
architectural. We need to hear from attorney as to what is the nature of the project, the principles, who's doing what, let's do a project description here. So could you step up to the table?
Yeah, sure.
That's a basic thing. It's not just a plan.
No problem. So my name is Joe Goldsmith. I'm one of the attorneys for the developer. This project in, the most general sense is to convert the certain portions of the building from what had been used transiently for hotel purposes to permanent residences. None of the existing tenants are having any of their units being changed. No one is being asked to move out of their units so that this project can move forward. It is to take the units that have been vacant or has been used transiently by the hotel that are no longer being used since the hotel closed down, and to convert those units that are currently vacant. As part of the project, as Edwin said, there are going to be 140 residences, apartments being created that are going to be dedicated to the affordable component, and the remaining units are either going to be the existing tenants or the new apartments that are not going to be a part of the affordable component, as the remainder of the units in the building, plus the penthouse unit by the owner, and that's part of the project in a general sense. The owner is also going to be substantially renovating and rehabilitating the building as part of that project, making upgrades to the systems that feed both components of the affordable, the market, the existing tenants, upgrading elevators, entrances, facades, and doing that kind of project as a general sense of it.
So as currently proposed, the building will contain Class A apartments that are firmly affordable.
Yes.
Class A apartments that are market rate,
Yes.
an amenities floor that
Yeah.
has a bunch of different things that you sort of like skipped over, you should know what's on that floor. And then it will also have the current SRO units in place. And then the fourth component is a hotel component, right?
Yes.
And I hope because of a technical issue, as opposed, I'm assuming if there was an ability to get around that, those would be converted to Class A buildings. Is that correct? Like general ownership idea?
Yeah, that's correct. There isn't,
Not around that. In other words, the way to resolve that.
there would have been a desire to convert those units as well to Class A apartments, but the Department of Buildings, because of light and air issues that Mr. Tang mentioned earlier, is not allowing those to be converted, and they're leaving them as they're existing right now as hotel, transient, SRO, however they may be.
A specific question, the current C of O, is it all hotel rooms? Is it Class B? Does it say Class B? What does that CLO say today, prior to any of
Yeah,
that?
today, every floor is Class B hotel,
Right,
including the SRO units. They're
Right.
listed as Class B, but they are SRO units.
right, the SRO units, okay, and I guess well, just for the committee's information, right? There is no prohibition for removing or demolishing SRO units in the city of New York. We had an SRO moratorium in the late 1980s. It was overturned. It was a very good city policy. So there are two laws that create two layers here in this building. We have local law 19, which is the SRO law. That says you must investigate, and if there is a finding of harassment, you have to leave the building vacant for 3 years. But there's a Clinton Special Zoning District regulation that says if there's harassment, you must provide 20% of the floor area for use in perpetuity for affordable housing. A ruling from court 80 years ago on the Windermere said the more restrictive applies. So the local law 19 applies, but the more restrictive is Clinton, and that's why they present to us today.
Yeah, the developer had the option to have a hearing held on the harassment and they declined.
Mhm.
They actually stipulated to the denial so that they could proceed with the project, providing the affordable component. So we never actually had a hearing.
But many owners, knowing that there's a history of harassment in the building, will just go right to the final step, which is the colloquial phrase is take the cure, right? It's not the kind of cure you go to a spa for, it's you lose money, which is okay, because it's harassment. Yes.
I'm sorry for my confusion. The existing apartments that folks live, are they gonna be renovated as well or not? Is that part of the plan?
So the cure, the affordable
No,
components doesn't have any
existing
require,
I think you're. I could be wrong, but it seemed that some of those apartments didn't have windows. Some of them,
No, they have to have them.
even.
The orange ones.
Yeah, even the SRO, the tenants.
Oh, so
The
they-
existing tenants.
They have all hotel rooms with windows.
So they will be renovated.
No, you're asking a couple of questions.
Okay.
There's a specific question. We have not yet heard the scope of work from the architect about the building. Let's start with that and let's go down to the various sections. So present to us, what is the scope of work for this entire building? Systems, the broad stuff, and then the specifics.
Yeah,
So
so
the different categories of.
as part of the residential conversion, there are code requirements for upgrades, so. You saw where the partitions are, the layouts are changing, that's the biggest work. But we have to upgrade the existing fire protection systems, sprinklers, standpipes, fire alarm. There's a new requirement for what's called an auxiliary radio communication system for firefighters. Because when your building is too tall,
Right.
their radio signals get weak.
It's considered a high rise.
Yeah, so it's an additional system to allow firefighters in an emergency to be able to radio each other. One is upstairs, one is downstairs, so that's a system that has to be installed. All the plumbing risers,
Water and waste.
water and waste, hot water and sewer lines. Their locations are maintained partially because there are tenants using them, so we can't touch them. So we have to work around those, but all the plumbing systems are being upgraded.
Replaced.
Air conditioning, heating, electrical.
Sorry, I thought you just said because some of the systems are currently being used by the existing tenants, then they're not being touched, but you're saying they are all being upgraded?
They're being up there, in those instances, there would be some phasing and sequencing, so the tenants would be given notification that service will be interrupted for. Today, so we can change a pipe, that'll be all.
Well, that was a big problem that we had at this committee like a year and a half ago, where notifications were not given, and it was constant, it's this thing we dealt with all the time, right? So that's gonna be an issue that we raise in our letter on how that gets managed, because we can't have that happen again, that we went through and dealt with and saw pretty dramatic videos.
Well, part of the project involves a redundancy to deal with this issue, but then we're open to hearing, these kind of questions and suggestions for notification and in general.
Just to sort of follow up on, so I think what I heard you say, and I think this was the question JV was asking, is that generally, as part of this plan, the plan is not to go into the existing tenants' apartments and run pay-per-go.
None of the existing units have to have any work done in them.
In
We're
them.
not proposing any work be done in any of the existing tenant units.
That are inhabited.
That's right.
But if you are installing sprinklers or changing pipes,
Wiring.
I mean, presumably that's not happening in the existing tenants' apartments either?
Well, I think the plan is to upgrade the base infrastructure and then, you know, like there's a trunk and then there are branches to every room. So for tenant occupied units, the trunk will be ready. So for whenever the tenant is available or wants to get upgraded, which will entail some disruption to their day-to-day, the basic system is in place and then we can just run the branch.
Okay, I wanna say up front, that's crazy land, right? And let's just call it out. This is a major project, and that's why I asked for the financial part of it. What's the total development cost of her?
About 45 minutes.
45 million, okay, so that's not $2, right? It's not as much as I thought it was gonna be. Here's, also, I'm assuming, are you replacing windows and roofs and stuff like this too?
As needed.
Huh?
As needed.
Oh, so, but how do you comply with energy code?
Well, those windows were replaced, I think, not too many years ago. So energy code applies to the extent of what you touch as far as the renovation is concerned. It's not like a new building compliance where you have to.
No, when you hit local law 87 kind of stuff, you're in a different level of compliance. So that's just. I'm gonna ask you again, you have to comply, not to the energy code, you have to comply with local 97, 87. Those are gonna require things to be done that you normally would not have done, because that's the new carbon, stuff, and we deal with this project all the time, right? So I'm assuming you're gonna be in full compliance with those two local laws.
Yeah, we have that.
I know you have to be, but you're gonna you can affirm with the state, you're gonna be in compliance, right? So, when I say crazy, the idea that, we go through this continuum of problems in this building. And this gentleman's correct, that the things accelerated dramatically when there was work done without proper permits and incorrectly issued by DOB applications. That created incredible difficulty in this building and services being cut off and rooms being opened. We saw all the videos, right? We're not born yesterday. We had a meeting with these developers maybe a year and a half ago, whatever. And then now we're here at this point, right? So as a community, we expect that the building gets treated in total. That and I'm gonna say this as we get through to our some specific questions, but the broader framing, right? The cure needs to benefit the existing tenants, and the cure is not abstract. So one of the things that we're gonna be asking HPD and met with the Councilmember Brewer about it, we're gonna be setting up a meeting with the Commissioner's office about this, is that in prior cure applications and developments, our communities have been able to grandfather all these existing tenants in, irrespective of income. The buildings were 100% renovated, and people moved around within the building, which was much easier because you have to live through any renovation in your house. And it was figured out how to work relocation agreements with every tenant. And that meant that end of the day, there is now a building that is both market rate and affordable, and people are living in it, irrespective of, who they are, what their incomes are, but everyone has the same level of quality of housing. So the fact that and I want to know something else for our committee. The group that is managing this at HPD and Inclusionary have been there kind of 8 or 9 months, right? So there's been a lot of turnover. So I think when it was reported to this, Jesse got the information that if tenants were going to be in cure units, they'd have to apply. Well, that's certainly not what we did at 517, 525 West 45th Street. We figured out how to designate certain units for cure, right? 501 West 51 and 501 West 52 were inclusionary. Tenants who were there, like we had 2 cops who were retired detectives. We didn't have them move out because they made too much money. They ended up getting a brand new apartment because they were there for 50 years or 45 years in their lives, kind of stuff. So this to me is more than curious that HPD either directed you, number one, not to give the full financial information, right? And second, that we're not looking at this as a solution.
So HPD has told us that they are not compelling any of the existing tenants to be part of the affordable.
It's not about compelling. It's not about compelling. This is about an overall package and resolution of horrible harassment in life, right? Period. And
So
that's what it is.
So the development team is looking to do two things, right? One of which is to make it the least disruptive for people.
It's gonna be horribly disruptive and horrible for everybody. I wanna say, everyone sitting here, no matter what, this is construction, you went through it already, no matter what is happening, it is going to be horrific.
I wanna say though, that the goal is to try to turn the corner, right? To figure out a new way to do it, to make sure that it's completed in a way that is at least the least disruptive as is possible, right?
There's I gotta say again, there's no least disruption. It's major renovation to an occupied building. That started improperly, right? So now we're to turn the corner here. It's the kind of thing, the scenario that works is you work with the tenants, with Goddard, you figure out who can be part of this boat here. Someone goes from this SRO room to a studio, or from, they have a kid to 2-bedroom, whatever the hell it is. It's still at 28%, right? That's not gonna change. And you do these relocation agreements and figure it out, because you want to get people out of the construction floors. You want to be able to do this where you have floors under construction and people move around and move back. That's what's done in the building. And I'm gonna say honestly, in this size of a building, you really have a great opportunity. Because there's so many open floors and apartments in there.
If there's willingness and there's a path to do it with HPD, and you guys can have that conversation with them.
I think the council member, we had this meeting and discussed and discussed it. I think we want to make sure the path here is something that is actually a final resolution to everything, as opposed to there's a whole new building and then there's, 27 apartments that are rooms and partially done or whatever.
That have never been touched.
Yeah, or partially touched or,
Right, but they had to live through all of the renovations.
No, I mean, that is not beneficial for the owner as
No,
well,
easier.
right? Like, the owner, this would be a far easier project
Yeah.
to be able to do everything.
Right.
And to be able to relocate people in and out of the way of construction.
Yeah.
From ownership's perspective, 100%.
And I'm saying, this community board has worked with deals and buildings like this where there's relocation agreements, the tenants retain their rent stabilized rights, they retain their rent, but they pay no rent for this period of relocation, they're moved here. The whole thing gets done, people move up, down, and sideways, it's not a new idea. So the fact that HPD is not put this out there, to me, is like one of those moments of.
Our presentation here is that nobody is required to do anything they don't wanna do, right? And we wanted that to be clear, right?
So you're saying you're not forcing anybody out of their current space.
That's right.
But people
you-
can choose.
Right, but that you're willing to offer the opportunity to have theirs to relocate and to have their space temporarily, and to have their space redone in the same way the rest of the apartments. in the-
Or they can move to another unit of their choice in this building. That's one of the affordable units. I mean, the thing that we're so
Joe,
Good.
I just want to ask, I don't understand how you can not renovate the electricity in every apartment. That seems to me as a potential danger.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Are you gonna leave some of the apartments untouched with the new electrical system?
We would like, I mean, our default, is we would like to renovate all the rooms.
Well, exactly.
That's what we have to do.
This piecemeal concept, this piecemeal construct doesn't make any sense to us.
It's not.
It's almost like,
Hold on, guys, hold on.
it was almost quasi-deceptive how you presented that earlier, because you said things would be untouched, but then you said some things may be touched as needed. It became very confusing. So three of us had a point of concern. I didn't raise my question, but we all had the same point of concern as to the disruption this will cause the residents in the building.
Right.
And the way you tried to present it was in a way that it would seem like it's not disruptive, when clearly, as Joe stated, it's going to be disruptive. So since we all know the reality that it's going to be disruptive, just be clear about your plan. Be clear about how you're gonna relocate folks temporarily and then allow them to move back into their homes or keep
Or-
it
or-
on. That's what we're asking for. We're asking for clarity.
And I think part of this is, unfortunately, I wanna say, I do put part of this in HPD. They are literally with blinders. This is not just about settling the 140 units. I mean, and we've done these before. And we've done them in our district before. I think that's the key part, you know? And
Please, can I speak?
yeah,
No, it's just making sense.
you have to wait, there's more committee members.
So it sounds like though, the good news is, if I'm hearing all this correctly, that you as a team are completely willing to offer to the current existing tenants the opportunity to have their apartment redone
Or
or
relocate.
relocate to a similarly sized new apartment in the building.
That's correct. We just didn't want to present it where it was a mandate.
Correct.
Got it.
So I think it's gonna make everybody feel better if you include that in the plan, right? Is that this is something that you are more than happy to offer. And that you, in fact, it would be preferable.
So we currently can't alter it unless the conversation happens, actually, and Joe will run a little further. So we were limited by what HPD allows us to do, and like, I mean, you're right.
I think we as a board and the council member have to go to HPD. We had set this in motion already before this, because the issue here is it's nonsensical to proceed this way, right? And it does not bring huge benefit to the current tenants. The other issue here is that relocation agreements frequently will say, I live in an apartment, like 1102, I'm going temporarily to apartment, 1005, whatever, and I'm coming back to 1303, because that may be what you want to do to figure out where you land, right? Once you see the plans and the size. And then people take their rents with them. You can transfer rent stabilized rents. That's a common legal thing to do. And I myself, in professional work, have moved people from either A to B. They continue what their rents are. And so therefore, there's no damage to the long-term tenants.
Right.
They're just the normal rent stabilized things that happen. They don't go up to any HPD rents at all. That may be registered because that's like the higher legal rent, but the rent people are paying are gonna be whatever the rent stabilized rent is. And I think just for making a project happen, just logistically, this makes much more sense.
Yeah.
But
it also, and it's great that you guys are saying that like you want to turn it over and that you want to make it as least a whole as it will be. And we all agree that it's gonna be fairly awful. But we have to agree that like not all the elevators are gonna be out at the same time. Like not all the water is gonna be off at the same time for a week, that there has to be a way for people to live in the apartments. Wherever they are in the building, they have to be able to continue to live.
Are there other committee members who would like to ask a question or make comments so that then next we can move to the public?
Just quickly to the architects, is it feasible to leave some of the apartments untouched when you do all that renovation with the electrical units? Is that not dangerous?
There are, the electrical engineer is the ones behind the design and sequencing of that. I didn't do it myself, but in coordination. There is a tenant protection plan in place that's required by.
He's talking about long term.
I'm talking about all the electricity in the old apartments. You're gonna do all new electricity in some of the apartments, but not the others.
Well, you kind of have to do it eventually.
Okay.
I'm gonna run the table.
It makes sense to do it all at the
And it
same
is
time
Roberta.
and not piecemeal.
Nothing. Katie, Roll, let me come back to the end. Okay. Kate, questions?
No.
Katie.
Anything else?
I got
Kevin?
an answer.
I will have questions, but I'd like to defer till I hear from the tenants. Anybody else?
Yes.
I'd like to, because that will help further inform my thoughts.
Any questions about what you've heard so far?
There are, but I would still like to hear from the tenants,
Okay.
anybody else, so I can have a reasoned information.
Leah?
Travis?
No, that's.
Yes.
Is there an intended timeline for this project work here, or is that ultimately dependent on the city that they're in this?
They didn't approve cure.
Yeah,
You gotta pull
so
it.
there's a delay until it's approved by both the HPD, DOB and this committee. So that's one part of it. And then how long the entire project would take after it's like ground ready?
Right. What is the time frame?
I mean, the owner's motivated to get it done as soon as possible. I mean, it's a business.
Sure.
The timeframe, you guys have a sense of.
Yeah, so we got the denial of the certificate of non-harassment last October. So we've been waiting for 1 year for this meeting. So.
No, you had a whole review process that
I'm
you
just
went
saying,
through.
yeah, I'm not blaming on anybody, I'm just saying, I'm explaining to the tenants the timing wise.
Right.
So assuming that we are able to, come to terms.
Once you get a permit from the Department of Buildings after getting this, the procure document, what is the timeframe for construction as currently configured?
We're probably anywhere between 8 months to a year.
8 months to a year. So let's say a year, and 18 months, realistically. I know you have construction interest, but trust me, you worked in New York, things from so quickly.
You're saying 18 months.
I think so, yes.
I have one follow-up question about the logistics of having the hotel or
Yeah,
temporary
Oh.
short stay housing being intertwined.
I don't know how, I have to tell you, our board has horrific experience with this. It's Airbnb, pretty much, but the
Yeah.
idea of SROs partially being transient, whatever. There's security issues, there's livability issues. How do you intend to manage that? And that's for the owner, I think that's the question.
And I was gonna say, the only time I've seen that work is when it's actually. Their floors are residential and the rest of the building's hotel.
Which is not the case here.
This is not the case here, yeah, and what I'm intermediate.
Can't be the case.
So I need an explanation logistically as to how that's gonna work.
This was a surprise to us, just like it was to you guys, when we submitted to DOB, we believed that he could be reversed to residential, because the building was residential prior to becoming a hotel.
Right.
And they denied it, so those 60 units, they pushed us to continue to be a hotel, so in one of the floors, we will have a hotel, an SRO, an inclusionary housing, and a free market.
Well, I think maybe we need to have that discussion further with council member, because that's a ridiculous outcome. Because that's a security issue
Right.
for people who live there. This is their homes.
And a management issue, how are the hotels being rented? Are they gonna be put on Airbnb by the owners? Or is it gonna have a separate hotel and check-in? Because would those be registered as legal short-term rentals?
I don't know how you get a short-term rental in a residential building like this.
Well, the C of O already provides for Class B hotel, and the existing tenants and SRO units are part of those Class B hotel units on this current certificate of occupancy.
Right, but now you're converting to Class A.
I 100% agree with you.
It's
I have Class B in place, like in the same floor, but all residential. Right, it's a logistical
It's a
name.
logistical matter for the owners, it's a logistical matter for the tenants, and it's a logistical matter for the board, it's
So
just.
a solution was already proposed for that. Can we now move on to the, I'd like to hear the public.
Well, there is no solution. yet.
Now, wait, what solution?
No, well, what? I'm just, my brain is moving too fast. I just heard Joe mention, well, it sounds like we need to draw in the council member and have that discussion.
To the Department of Buildings.
And the Department of, yeah, so to me, that sounds like, well, that's what we can do
So,
for a resolution.
so Maria's right. Let's start to go around the room just for tenants to hear concerns from tenants.
So just to close our contact, just to
Yes.
address the two items that you brought up. We are, kind of victims of these two administrations. One is the rules of HPD that I'm following, and two is the rules of DOB. So if there's any conversations you guys wanna have with those departments or bodies to.
We exist to do that. We exist for that function. There are all different types of developers from the
We're completely.
the smallest to the
aligned.
largest that have problems that we try to resolve all the time.
Completely aligned.
So let's go, Roller, you didn't speak.
Yeah, well, I heard the presentation, thank you very much. The end product was fabulous, and I look forward to getting there. The journey has been very difficult. Now, in the presentation, there are a couple of things that came up that concern me. On the second page, the vertical unit distribution, I noticed that there are 4 units that you are including as inclusionary housing apartments, but they're currently occupied by tenants. Units 2106, 2107, 2204, and 2207. There are people currently living there. What is your plan? Are you?
I believe there were a few that we learned that they were recently vacated. There was a couple tenants that passed on. those units are.
Are they occupied today, Roland?
They are occupied.
So,
today.
so,
In
so
fact, a
again,
couple
you
of
have to
my-
clear up your plans because you represented that everything that's here is not occupied.
Okay, we can definitely.
There may be a confusion in unit number, so we'll clarify.
Whatever it is, it's gotta be clear.
Well, to that point though, if they occupy currently, then they can't be including your 28%. So that means you need to find 4 more units.
Yeah, our plan was to not include any of the existing tenants in the 140 units for the 28%. I think I heard you, Joe, say that in prior other buildings, that's been allowed to use
Yes.
the existing tenant population as part of the inclusionary.
Yes,
So if that's ultimately, what can be accomplished
that
here,
works out better for everybody else.
that.
But irrespective, Roland brings the case that the current submission is not correct because some of those are occupied
We
today.
will verify that, that's not the intent. We definitely will verify, make corrections.
All right, very good. The other question is. The owner and the tenants had a meeting, maybe a couple of months ago, where he told us that we had to apply with HPD and be accepted by HPD to be able to be eligible for certain benefits that he was offering. He was willing to give rent refunds from the time that he bought the building back in May of 2022 to today. He also offered to give rent abatements from today until the certificate of occupancy is issued, and also to do room fixes. But those 3 things were directly tied to the tenants applying for and being accepted by HPD's affordable housing program. We feel, and we told them at the time, that we should be grandfathered into this program. He disagreed and basically ended the meeting at that time. And I think that that's something that should be discussed at this committee for reconsideration.
That's the conversation that you just had with, that Joe was gonna reach out to HPD. If you can avoid, in that application that we're referring to, is the path that HPD told us that SRO tenants need to take in order to join the new units. The inclusionary. So what Joe is saying.
The cure units.
The cure units. So what Joe is saying is for that meeting for HPD to happen, we'll avoid that application process.
All right, so we need to have a conversation. And also the last thing I heard was that the current tenants, that there is not gonna be any movement of tenants from their existing rooms to the other room. But certain tenants have grown their families. They've married, they've had children. There are at least 2 or 3 families who are now single room occupants, and yet they have 1 or 2 children. And they've mentioned their interest of being able to either rent an additional room or move to a bigger place, especially after all the stuff they've gone through. And you guys said no to that as well. And so I'm hoping that you guys will reconsider on that as well, as part of the.
Let's see if we can work with
Figure
HPD,
something
a
out.
little more flexible here. So let's go to tenants around the room.
Yes. Firstly, I mean, the polite thing to say is they confused their representation and let me not try to talk around. They're lying. Like, from the beginning, demolition is done without permission.
Correct.
Now, let me go back. When they got the building, when they acquired the building, Alberto Smike called me and took me out to eat, to discuss what he was going to do with it. And I had previously spoken before the board on behalf of the building, when Schrager was there, some different administrations. And I said to him, listen, as long as you do what you're supposed to do within the law, et cetera, fine. Otherwise, you probably, because I know the condition of the building, should consider moving us out or buying us out. Because this project there's too much going on in the building, like the elevators hadn't been upgraded for decades possibly, right? And he even discussed hiring me. Now, I knew that move as an attorney to possibly disqualify me later from representing tenants. Schrader, when he took the building, did the same thing, and turned around and agreed to not disqualify me if I were to defend the tenants. He wanted me to be a tenant's advocate. So I was supposed to protect the tenants. And in fact, he agreed, and I did litigate against the building to secure some of the tenants to keep them at Virginia that day. We tried to get out, I was able to represent her, and she's still there. But like, when it comes to the discussion about like the electricity, he picked up on that. They are shutting off our electricity when they want to. The tenants who are here, please by show of hands, how often does that happen? Raise your hands.
Without notice.
Without notice.
Right.
This is what's really going on. This is what we got yesterday. The work will be conducted on floors 21 and 22 on September 4th, 5th, 6th, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. The floors will be thoroughly cleaned daily. They never clean.
So I have a threshold question, for you as owner. You don't have a permit in hand, because you don't have an approval from DOB, you don't have a harassment, you don't have a cure document that's been reported. How are you doing work? We have already had this conversation, council member, other tenants. How are you continuing to do work without having a set of approved plans and a permit pulled?
So I can explain a little of that. There was a phase one series of permits for work that the rule is you cannot disturb the layout of any unit, bathroom, kitchen.
Correct.
Number of units, etc. So there's some previous work to the back of house spaces, corridors, as part of system upgrade.
You are really sort of downplaying the videos that we saw, which was demolition, open wall, things all over the place. It's much more than just systems. With systems work done in a major way, it's major disruptive. So let's just put that out there, okay? But so you're gonna tell me that those permits are still in operation? Even though you have a pending plan to,
They actually are.
but you did demolition and remove walls at that point too.
Yes, that was exceeding those permits.
That's right.
But the scope that's being, I believe the scope that's being pursued now is within what the Department of Buildings has defined as allowable. Before we have the HPD.
I would ask council member, that's a DOB meeting to have a discussion about, because it doesn't really help this process yet at all.
If I may, you know, when they first, initially, they actually offered us hotels to stay in.
Right, I remember.
We were offered hotels. I was placed in several hotels. I tried to work with them because my mentor had cancer and I was taking him to his treatment and deal with my elderly mother. So I haven't really had the time to address a lot of this stuff. But because of what was going on, I continued to file complaints to look out for my elderly neighbors. I would be in the lobby and they'd walk to me, oh, where the hell, yeah, get off 311, come on. They stopped putting me in hotels because I was doing that. They said, well, we're not gonna put you in more hotels if you're gonna keep complaining. Now, this is what's going on. You know, I don't wanna make this difficult because all of us wanna get back to our lives. But with regard to them putting us in temporary housing or anything while they're doing this, they have no interest in doing that.
Well,
They've got us living in this dust bowl.
Right.
With construction.
Everyone's living in a construction site right now, and it's been living in a construction site for at least 2 years.
Yeah,
Right.
it's, it's a glorified storage space for me. I don't know how my neighbors live there. Peggy, my dear neighbor Peggy, 2 weeks ago called me by accident from the hospital. She was trying to locate her niece or something. I said, Peggy, it's Owen. She goes, oh no, I was trying to reach my niece. You know, I'm in the hospital. What's wrong, Peggy? I'm not breathing properly. Something's wrong now. And I said, Peggy, have you mentioned the dust condition in the building? But they ran tests on her. They didn't find things, but we don't know what's happening to us in that building. You know, when they did construction on my floor, they didn't knock on the door. They did not knock on the door to tell me to leave. I woke up with the hammering and a cloud of dust.
Right.
And then I had to go to eye and ear hospital and have a surgery performed in my eye because I broke out. and they could not determine what it was. Again, I'm dealing with my elderly mother and my dying mentor, so I could not stop to try to pursue litigation or whatever it is. I communicate with Alberto all the time. He gets tons of emails. I would love for this to work out, but they shouldn't have us in the building.
So how would it work out for you?
Well, for us.
No, I'm asking for you.
For me, they should go back to where it was. We're supposed to be not in the building when this stuff is going on. We can't live there. We can't.
Well, right, but there also could be certain floors done that were in.
Right, when
Total
Straker was there, he was a doll, like he did one floor and then he put us in a
Right,
brand new
exactly.
room and.
I'm saying in terms of internal relocation.
Yeah, but the difference in Straker and them is that they demolished the building. We have no lobbies, we have nothing. The other tenant on the 21st, 22nd floor, they're dancing with rats and mice. Like, this is out of control.
Okay, so let's go around, sir.
Oh, but hold on. You know. Yeah, I mean. I wish there were enough time, but. You know, they intimidated the tenants, they bring them into meetings, they don't have lawyers with them. And they're sitting there having discussions. When the harassment issue came up, when they were preparing for this hearing. They said, oh, they declined to go forward with the hearing as if they were, no, they had no shot at the game. I spoke to Ms. Jones, the attorney, and she says, oh, they literally went back and found the tenants and tried to get us to sign affidavits that said we were not harassed.
Right, this is not uncommon in this situation.
Okay.
I'm saying it's
But I
not,
just
but
want
the point of it is that.
land, WDN, land,
So we're going around the room, next.
Leo.
My immediate concern right now is that practically every day or every other day, there's no hot water. And it's an ongoing matter. I can't figure it out. I mean, I know the building following the boiler, whatever it is probably also, but something has to happen.
So.
No.
We're gonna take notes of all the outstanding items today, but going forward, what for you works to get this situation resolved? Would you be part of a discussion where you would temporarily relocate to another finished apartment in the building or come back, whatever? I mean, it's like how flexible are you in what you want to do here?
I'd like to stay where I am as is, but I don't know that much about electricity. But I can tell you when they were here, when they began this whole project, I think I am pulling electricity from about 4 different areas in the building.
Correct.
Not necessarily on my floor. And
so you would be flexible on trying to figure something out.
Right.
Okay, sir.
I'll try to make it brief. I've been in the building since 1981. Now we've got the mice and the rats and the cockroaches. In December 2022.
It's all from the construction, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, these are newly arrived rats and mice. They're grandfathered in, I don't know. In December 2022, I got a notice in my mailbox that said, management, we are upgrading the telephone system. Well, they upgraded it out of existence. They demolished the landlines and they did not tell anyone. So I think in after April, the property manager, who's not here today, offered to give some tenants a cell phone. It's called an easy phone. It's not like an app thing. It's just a telephone, cell phone. And I had that for a month, and then apparently the property owner decided not to pay for the local monthly fee. So that doesn't work, the cell phone. And this is just an example of, you know, when you live in this place for 40 or 50 years, and I depended on my Hudson telephone system because it was there and I didn't have to pay for it. I don't like getting bills through the mail. So that's the telephone system. Now we're talking about how nobody is coming into the apartment to do work. Well, I think it was at the beginning of this year, in February, March, I was asked by the property manager and the SRO manager one morning to speak to them about the idea of me checking into a hotel for a week because they wanted to go. I live in a studio, 18 by 18 feet, it's 324 square feet. I've got 2 windows. I've got a bathroom and a kitchen and then a large living space, a studio. So the property manager and the SRO manager said, okay, we want you to go into a hotel for a week and we're gonna take the ceiling out in the bathroom because upstairs, which is the 23rd floor, completely demolished, it's like a war zone. We have to do the plumbing upstairs, so we have to take the ceiling out in your bathroom to do the work upstairs. And I said, okay, for a week I can handle this. Well, this turned out to be what we call a false and misleading statement. They not only took the ceiling out in the bathroom, but also the bathroom is sort of like connected by a wall. And the kitchen is on the other side, so that's a wet area. So they took out the ceiling in the kitchen too. And I said, well, can I come here in the evening and like use my refrigerator and use my computer? And they said, yeah, no problem with that. Well, they moved all my furniture around, so you really couldn't get into the place, but I did come back every evening to try to get my food and to access my computer. And the 7-day stay turned out to be 4 weeks, 28 days in a nearby hotel, and it wasn't the Waldorf Astoria. They trashed the place and they broke everything in the kitchen and the bathroom, the tile is all cracked and everything is not in good shape. And I was just happy to come back. Now, it was not just me, 10 other of my neighbors also went into hotels, some because they had the opportunity to go to a
Bill,
hotel
sorry,
because
can I
of.
just interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
Because I do want to get to the other tenants.
I'm wrapping up now.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, so I'm not the only one that was asked to leave. Now we're getting back to the statement that no work is being done in the apartments. Well, not to my benefit, it wasn't, but for their benefit, they got me out of the place. And they trashed the place and they didn't really put it back together. And I'm thinking back in hindsight, this could have been a deal where they could have gotten me out of the building. They could have like just destroyed my apartment and said to the authorities, well, we don't know this guy, he never lived here. I don't know you don't know what to expect. And it's nothing personal, it's just what happened. I could go on. I said I've been there since 1981. Next victim.
Well, Joe had asked a question about, how did you frame the question about what you would?
What do you want to do? How do you feel flexible about resolving it?
I heard the question, I heard Leon's, I don't know what to tell you.
Good, I just want to get a rough idea here because we're trying to figure out how to get a path to complete resolution.
In the past, there was this deal with rent give backs.
Yeah.
That's been floated around, I don't know how that works. I have a letter here from some entity, this HPD thing, I don't know what they want. They say that they're representing Settlement Housing Fund, Inc.
Oh, Settlement Housing Fund, in this case, will be the administering agent for the affordable units. And I think they must be sending out letters about this whole apartment application thing, which HPD directed the owner to do, and that's what we're calling into question tonight.
And they want my financial records, and we've been through this with the guy at Riverside Law Center, which I have little respect for, but that's a discussion for another day. And they want my financial records.
Well,
I don't think so.
Well, that's about if you have to be qualified, which is we're gonna question, should you be at all?
Yeah.
So ma'am,
Peggy.
next, Peggy.
Oh, I'm Peggy Jane. I've lived at the Hudson since January of 1970. And my ongoing problem right now is the water. When we have water, it's always rusty. And every time I go to take a shower, there is never any hot water. It's just ongoing. I just don't understand why. I don't get it anyway. That's my big ongoing problem.
Including
The other
today?
thing was, as far as the electricity goes, I don't know, about a year ago. They yanked out all the electricity, and they said they couldn't find the electricity to hook me up to the building again, so they had to put in new lines. And they put me in a hotel for a while they were doing that. But they left this plug right underneath the window where I have to drag wires across everything to actually get to where the plug is. They didn't finish the job, they just stopped it here instead of going around the corner where it's supposed to be.
So get the mice.
The mice, listen, since 1970, I've never seen a mouse until last year. And then my place was just inundated with them. 6 different times they had to come in. And they came, they ate everything in my place, even stuff that wasn't food. And 6 different times they came, and every time they said it's all been resolved. Well, it wasn't. Anyway, that was another nightmare. We can all recount numerous.
So Peggy.
But in the future, going forward, my apartment has been damaged by, and it's currently right now, the whole wall is just all rusty and coming apart because of water damage. They say they fixed that yesterday, but they fixed it 4 months ago. Anyway, so ongoing in the future, I just want the damages that have been done to my apartment to be fixed. You know, I was happy with it the way it was. And I'm not asking for anything bigger or better, just, you know, something that resembles what it was before.
Yes, I'm Pat Rockenborough, and I have complaints about water being shut off. Not getting any water, hot water, sometimes no cold water, but I keep the water off on stove. I keep the water up on stove and get it that way. Some of the tiles in my bathroom have fallen out, but I put them back with this strong, very strong tape. So the tiles are back, but who knows, maybe they're gonna fall again, I don't know. But yeah, that the water and electricity sometimes shuts off, but it comes back on pretty rapidly.
So
the other
And what's your first name?
Patricia.
Patricia.
So going forward, do you want to be part of this whole discussion? Figure out, is there a way to relocate the building, maintain your rent stabilized status, figure out what to do? Or do you prefer to stay exactly where you are today?
I like to stay exactly where I am today, with the same rent. Paying the same rent, I'm increasing the rent.
Well, they're normal increases, whatever those are.
Well, yeah, that's, I just wanna stay there. And have my water running all the time. And elevators.
Okay, going around the room.
Elevators,
Thanks. Yeah. I keep walking, so water in my hall, so flush, spoiled. When did it? But otherwise, it's just basically the same issue. And yes, I would like to say, where I.
Okay.
And what's your first name?
Ken.
Ken?
Yes, next.
Yeah. Same issues, kind of, happening, drinking water, this supplying of bottles of water downstairs. We can do that, so the water bottle, if I have to make coffee or anything, I can't just get water. We have it, that's not wrong.
Right.
If you have the water. Yeah, so I've been surprised a few times. And actually, if any one of you came to visit over there, on the floors that the tenants are living, so what is this, you know?
We've seen the pictures and the videos. It's your eyes fall out of your head. Yes, yes.
And so it's really amazing. Every time you have to go through plastic, you open the door or the dust comes on you. And inside, when you spend a little time in the room, you start feeling very odd, very strange. So, because you have to keep those windows down, otherwise all the dust comes in. What are you gonna do?
So I'm gonna phrase again on the going forward part. If you had to, I'm gonna get everybody here. People say they want to stay where they are, that makes sense. But I will say, again, we're gonna recommend that we figure out something where you move temporarily in the building and come back to your unit then, because you have to be able to get out of the construction site. I mean, that's the thing that we really gotta manage in this whole process, for safety and health reasons, just health.
But there's nowhere to go.
No, but let's, yeah.
One of the solutions that you had suggested was that, when people buy this kind of a structure. These are people living over there, how
Yes.
can they construct on their heads and bodies? So there has to be some solution.
Yeah,
You know,
we can figure out a solution. Right?
yeah, that's what I think.
Ma'am, your name?
What was your first name? Your first name?
Yolanda.
Yolanda, and what was yours?
Claudia?
Claudia.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I have a problem with my apartment and I asked him, I'm gonna move to another apartment, but he said, no, they can't. Because my apartment, they have the garbage designed to me. And sometimes for 3 days, they don't drop out the garbage. And they open a place beside my apartment with like cheese, something like that, or light. And they leave it open, so dirty, open. And it smells so bad, they come to my apartment, including my clothes smelling. But they don't want to do nothing, they say they cannot change me to the apartment. But the apartment-
But if we worked out a broader solution here, resolution, you'd be willing to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Ma'am?
Maria?
I'm Maria Rodriguez.
Yeah.
And, basically, the water. All the times, like one day it's there, the next day it's not here. The elevators. We have to press one button to get to the big elevators. Yes, which elevators come. Because you have to run from one end to the other. And it's dangerous. You know, it's an accident waiting to happen. And then the same thing like the garbage. It's like you pass the garbage all the time, but it's better.
It's not taken out. Okay.
And she would be interested in these flexible relocating. Oh, Maria, how do you feel about relocating temporarily? Is that something you would be flexible with?
Stay where I'm.
Okay. No, you're relocating as construction proceeds and you go back to where you are, if that's what you want.
Yeah.
Get you off the construction floor, that's the thing.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
My name is Karina Yogi, I live in Parkland. And I've been there since 1979. And my issue was that when they were doing the construction, they didn't even notice that they do. Because I'm not, get caught at the middle, they are banging on that end and banging on this end, I got hypertension, I got arthritis from the body. Then with the dust coming, I end up with the doctor with glasses everywhere. Temporarily, my sister asked me to live with them temporarily because I can't breathe. And for my own sake, I have to go, but I will keep going back to the apartment to check. But sometimes with the body, some stuff are breaking, you know, I have some injuries and stuff, they're breaking. I always keep my apartment nice and clean. But and then I have with the bathroom. I mentioned it before, they said they will fix it, but nobody comes, so I asked somebody to fix it for me. And that's how it happens.
Did she answer or miss?
No, just today, I just got 4 mice today.
It's a good day.
Yeah.
That's an excellent day, Joe, especially if you're afraid of
I
mice.
surprised every time I go to the apartment, I always buy this meat. They said this meat is good for catching, so I put that in the cart and I throw them everywhere. Then I mop the floor, I put, Clorox. And then next thing I know, there is some, I bought some and some, they gave us some. And then when I see they start smelling. I said, I just clean it and I just keep dusting. Because I'm allergic to dust, I got rashes. And today, by surprise, there are 4 of them.
What is your first name?
My first name is Caridad.
Karina.
Caridad. And did you already answer the question about relocating temporarily in a building? And
Because I got stuck in my apartment, and I don't want to.
Oh, okay, I understand. Like emotionally, you don't really want to, but you might be willing to for health and safety reasons.
Go somewhere, I go to my sister, I ask my brother, look, pick me up.
Okay, thank you very much.
I need to support it and my 2021, and I have the beaches here that, when they, fine now. I had a problem, no one educated with that, and everything else. It was, I have to go to the doctor for this, when they moving everything else, you know, the dust and the animals.
Oh, they're great, right?
I don't know how to be nice, but anyway, so I have to go to the doctor because of that. And then the dust around the area all the time. And then I just continue to look at my eyes right now. I have to go to the doctor all the time. And once I'm fine, I take a picture of my arm when this BBL. And I try it for them. But anyway, I like what I need right now, but the thing is, the dust that I'm taking. You know. With mask, no, I have a purifier in my home. I have.
Teresa, how do you?
You see, you want to find out what done.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reaction, I have to go to the doctor for it, I went there about 15 times already. And then. I was very wrong with that.
So, go ahead, Mary.
Teresa, how do you feel about relocating to another unit temporarily in the building?
Yeah, I mean, like that, yes.
Thank you.
Sir, you're the last one. Your first name is Ian.
George,
George.
I thought if some agreement with the levy, the owner. And what we can benefit. So this can be over, because the terrible thing over there, the condition we live, there, we know. And now one of you, not to listen to your lawyers 40%. Be more, be more understanding. Listen to the lawyers, but not 40%. Lawyers have answered, good people. Don't let it. Attract 40%.
And George, you would,
Keep something for yourself.
you would be willing to move around in the building or figure out a way to get away from the
It's a
construction?
big job for us. If you love things, you're supposed to do it, but it can be done. If you wait to cooperate, it can be over soon. What do you think?
Love it, okay.
Right? You going to do it?
Yes.
Promise?
Well, things have to be in writing.
Amen.
Things have to be in writing, not just
Not
a promise and handshake.
Johnny, I have to go online.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Online, how do you afford this?
Uh.
Nelly, bring him over.
Oh, Nelly, yeah.
Bring him
Nelly's
over.
Here, thank you.
And can you show us the attendees online, Nelly?
Yeah.
You mean like this?
Yeah. How do you print this in Renata Bandana, is that thing? Okay. Nelly, can you bring over those two? Renata also?
Are all three together? Okay,
Alejandro Correa?
yeah, they're all three of them.
Oh, yeah, Alejandro. Yeah. Are they over, Nelly?
Hello, can you hear us?
Yes, Hyro, you're up.
Yes, hi, how are you doing? Thank you for organizing this meeting and give us a chance to express our views. We concur with everything that has been said. I think that you're all very aware of the situation that we've been enduring in the building for over 2 years now. And basically, I'll just get to straight to the point. I think that,
Wait, I'm
I'll
sorry,
talk
how
to my.
long? Wait, how long have you lived in the building?
My wife has been in the building since 1990. We cohabitated and were married. And I've been in the building since 1998.
Okay. So
Yes.
1990.
Right. And what we would like to ask for here, and I don't think that any of my neighbors will object in being included in this, in consideration of this, is, you know, a refund for the rent since May 2022, because of the difficulties that we have had to endure. The building has been, you know, practically uninhabitable for many of us, given all the limitations with heat, with water, with dust, with noise, with elevators not working properly, etc. And so we would like to ask for that, as well as an abatement in rent until the work is completed and the owner gets a certificate of occupancy. We have not had electricity in half of our room for almost a year. And I have the text messages and the emails that I've sent to different people in the building to try to get that situation really fixed, and they simply have not done it. And so, you know, we're using extension cords and that kind of a thing, trying to be able to use the apartment. But it's been a real problem, and we would like, you know, it was very nice to hear you all reemphasizing the idea of not just part of the building or certain units being renovated, but everyone, all the units, everyone benefiting from that kind of work. I think it's essential, and I think that many of the units where the SRO tenants are living in right now are especially in need of renovations and care. The last thing that I would like to do is I would like to be given the opportunity to rent an additional unit next to us that is available, that is an SRO unit. We would like to be able to rent it so that we could make use of it. The current unit is under my wife's name. I would like to give it given an opportunity to be able to do so. And Yeah, I would be willing to cooperate with any movement, relocating, anything that would be offered to us as part of the plan moving forward. So thank you.
So Ira, would you be willing to move you and your family to another apartment that was entirely completed? That's
Yes.
larger, that fits your family?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay, thank you. Let's go to the next one, who is Renata, then Donna.
Hello, good evening. My name is Renata Vendana. I have been at the Hudson since 1978. At the beginning of this process, we had a decent relationship with the owners. We had several meetings. They informed us of what they were going to do. But they promised a lot, and they haven't kept their promises. I think that their interest in finishing this project has really affected the well-being of the tenants. Most of them probably have forgotten all the everything that we have endured day to day. Not only, you know, the dust and the noise and the drilling at 7 in the morning and finishing late at night, and no electricity. You know, food went bad in our apartments for having no electricity for 10 hours at a time. Sometimes no heat in the winter, no hot water in the winter time. We had to complain constantly. So, you know, it's on and on and on. I think a lot of them, of our neighbors, are concerned that if they leave, they won't be able to come back to their place, mainly because, again, one thing is told and another thing is done when it comes to dealing with us. And pretty much everybody is tired. And we want a resolution, a good resolution, because you know, for example, in my personal situation, I had a storage closet for many years. It was demolished. I had to throw away half of the stuff. They gave me a small cage to put whatever I had remaining in my storage, and I can't even access it because I'm afraid there's so much asbestos in the basement where it's located that not even the cleaning people go there. So um, we really want to have a good relationship with the owners, but at this point, it's all been disappointing, and we fear the day the construction is going to begin, the renovations, because we've been through a lot and we just want it fixed.
Renata, but how do you feel, the question that was going around the room was in reference to relocating in the building temporarily?
I have no problem relocating as long as I have an ironclad agreement written by Goddard.
Yeah, but you have to have a written relocation agreement that gives you all your rights back and forth. Got it.
Yes, because in one of these, in the settlement that was sent to us, there was a paragraph from the HPD that we had to give them our information. It was mentioned that we might be moved to another room, smaller, or, you know, to a different room, not the same as our room. As long as we signed that, we would get the rent abatement. I don't think the rent abatement should be contingent on whether we signed the document or not. I think we've been through enough.
We have to deal with the rent abatements and the going forward as a separate matter that is not connected to that and figure out how to make the whole thing work.
Exactly.
Thank you, Renata.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Good evening to all. I don't have much to add. I wanted to thank the members of the for your very thorough review of the proposed cure, and to the tenants of the Hudson that have been organizing for the last 2-3 years to get habitable living conditions and have their right to dignity and safe housing recognized by the landlord.
Alejandro, sorry. You lived there since what year?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm a tenant organizer with the Goddard Riverside Law Project. I should have started with that. My name is Alejandro Coria. And the one thing I wanted to add was simply that I strongly support what Dr. Fuertes and other tenants have proposed, which is that there should be retroactive rent abatements or rent exemptions since the time that the construction started, and that there should be rent abatements or rent exemptions until the construction period is over. We know that much of the construction and demolition renovation work that was happening in the building was happening with a tenant protection plan in place, with supposedly like DOB and HPD visiting the building every now and then, issuing violations to both DOB regarding DOB standards and the housing maintenance code standards. And even then, the tenants were still made to live in horrific construction zone conditions for over 1.5 to 2 years almost. So yeah, I mean, my 2 cents would be that I do think that having rent exemptions, both retroactive and moving forward, is really important to make sure that the landlord adheres to like their schedule of work, adheres to like basically that there's like some form of leverage in place that is that helps to make sure that everything goes according to time and the tenants are not paying rent for living in really substandard, deplorable conditions in the meantime. Thank you.
Alejandro, Goddard is able to do a relocation agreement, temporary and permanent, for tenants who wish to be part of that.
We'd be happy to advise tenants.
No, I'm talking about drafting an agreement and carrying it through.
Yes, for us to be able to represent tenants, as I think a couple people mentioned, we are required by the city to collect information, which was a big block to many people. Thankfully, the city has changed its standards, so we are no longer required to, for example, ask for people's social security numbers. But yeah, in principle, we are open to representing any tenant and negotiating relocation agreements. And if tenants are interested also in still filing a housing part action for a judge in housing court to supervise that living standards are maintained through the process, we're happy to work on that. So yeah, we're happy to provide free legal services to tenants with the caveat that requires us asking basically tenants filling out intake forms and agreeing to the terms of representation.
Okay, good. And we'll work with the council on that to get, we really need this to be a comprehensive thing and not just these people or those people. That doesn't work that way at all in the world. So, Travis.
I just have one more point of concern. it sounds like the relocation within the building to another unit, a temporary resolution is fine to get people away from the construction. But what I've heard from the residents is that there's some impact is happening even if you're not on the constructed floor, i.e. no hot water, i.e. electrical issues. So what is the resolution for those folks who still might be impacted if they just get relocated in this?
I'm gonna ask, first of all, for a current repair list, because anything that we do here, we need to deal with a comprehensive. It's not a punch list, this is just current repairs, this is like keeping people, general stuff, and we're gonna tell HPD that that's gotta be settled before they move ahead and improve anything, because whether it's tiles falling off the wall, or it's 4 mice over here or 10 mice over there, this is the kind of thing that has to happen normally in a building under construction. And I got a note from one of my colleagues saying, this is not really right for consideration yet. This has been referred by HPD. We have to be able to engage with this, right? And part of our discussion tonight is very disturbing that we have this thing in front of us, which is not comprehensive, right? Which doesn't resolve all the problems. And the owner is following HPD's direction. We get that. It's not the first time, Gail, we say that HPD has given some poor direction, right? So our council members are very interested in resolving this building and settling things up. So I think we need to think about just approximately what are our thoughts here. Let me make a couple of more notes. And as I noticed, architect, your recycling room is way too small. I have a building with 103 units. My recycling room is 3 times the size of that. You have hundreds of units there. People get packages every single day. Our recycling room is full of Amazon boxes.
Joe, before you go too far, Phil, with that, I just want to point out a couple of other things that took place in this building.
Right.
First of all, when they came in,
I'm just gonna ask, please, Owen, don't go too long, because we have another thing.
Because tonight I learned that they're gonna try to have like a hotel portion of this building.
We will learn that tonight.
Okay, well, for the record, they did push out the unions that were in the building, right? 2, we don't have a licensed engineer in the building. We used to always have 2 to maintain the boilers. Our lone security guard, we used to have 4 security guards, right? Our lone security guard leaves his post to check the boiler. They take care of the boilers. The security guard. You can't make this up. So, I mean, just make note of that, like, these are the things we're dealing with. And so if they got a hotel component to this, construction.
Serious security
They probably have to revisit the unions, just for the record.
So just to note, all the apartment finishes are the same, correct?
Correct.
And whether it's market rate or affordable.
It's on the last 2 sheets of the drawing set that is in the drop.
It was very small, so I kept having to make things bigger and bigger, so I'm asking you questions for that. I'm gonna just note, the AMI band, 80% AMI?
That's, yes,
All 80%,
yes.
okay. We noted for the record that there is no law preventing SRO rooms being taken out of service and converted to Class A, so rooms are not paying that. There is no law that covers that. We have this issue with the hotel rooms, operate and managed. Who knows, right? We got to raise this as a big red flag for HPD, right? We did not talk about it, but normally in a process like this, we would ask that there be regular construction meetings, construction look-aheads, and a monthly meeting with Jesse from the District Management Community Board to report back, and from the Tenants Association as to the progress of what's happening. We do that all the time. We did that with Columbus Apartments versus Time Warner Center. You can imagine having that construction happen next to that 650 apartments, and it was very successful to make it work. We're gonna get a current repair list. We have not seen the security plan. So on the ground floor of this building going forward, I'm assuming there's a desk, there's a doorman, there's something, right? Isn't it set up like that?
There's a security room and desk, it's constantly attended, there's videos.
Right, but I mean, I don't get to, when the building gets renovated, I don't get just to walk in.
No, you can't.
That's what I'm saying.
It's a locked building, you have to press the bell. They see who you are, and then they ask, what are you doing here? And then if they know who you are, then they buzz you.
They see who you are, it's gonna be a lot of people coming in. You're not gonna have security down in front?
Yes.
You don't have security there?
We do, but there's also a virtual, what he's referring to as a virtual door.
Right.
So it's basically the doors are locked, You have a fob, you can open the door, so
Gotcha.
even if you don't have a fob, you can't enter the building and see the spirit.
Right, but there's a person somewhere in this process, okay. So I think we want to understand the security plan, especially this hotel idea. We've heard about this this renovation going backward and forward. I think that's something that we're gonna put in our condition or our letter, figure out what to do, because I think, given the fact that the majority of the difficulties happened with the current owner and the construction, we should add for that upfront. Yes.
I wanna make sure I heard something correctly. So were you suggesting they have a doorman, or a security guard there because of the construction zone happening?
No, I'm talking about subsequent, in a large building like this, or, you know.
But I think they're saying they're not gonna have a doorman. They're
That's
just
what
gonna
it
have.
sounds like though.
Virtual. It sounds like virtual. There's a security person, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I got a yes.
In addition to the virtual.
So there's both. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's one.
Right. The ongoing construction work is not being managed well, obviously, and we have to figure out how we manage this. This is an ongoing problem, and it's been for quite some time. We've requested the financial information on the whole overall project. Does anyone have any comments about the apartment distribution of affordable versus market? Looked pretty,
Yeah.
pretty good all the way through. It's
Yeah.
very, very rare we have that, like they walk in like that, and that's like.
The one thing you noticed, I think it's on floor 5, maybe, it's at like more than 50% of the apartments on one low floor or affordable,
52%.
right? I don't remember what floor it was,
So
but,
let's,
so it just seems
Katie,
like there
if you can look at that and then shoot it to me so I can do that
Yeah.
specific letter.
On that question, we need clarification on the 4 units that were already covered previously.
I jotted those down, we're gonna verify that and get back to you. Correct.
Right, and possibly mislabeled units, right? Amenities in this building, could you talk about that? You didn't mention that at all.
There's a terrace on the 15th floor roof that tenants can access currently, and they will continue to access it after this.
Get on the 15th floor. No, we haven't been on the 15th floor forever. What are you talking about?
Okay, all right, so in the plans, there's a terrace. That'll be open to all people in the building, right? How about the amenities floor that I saw?
Amenities floor will be on the ground floor, so when you walk in, there's amenity spaces. And that's for the affordable and for the market and for everybody who has the same amount.
And there's no charge.
Not
So you represent that, okay. Have I missed anything,
I have a
committee
question.
members, Katie?
Are there any amenities in the building that are not accessible to all of the tenants or amenities that have a separate charge? Okay, so everything is available to everyone.
The only amenities that are not accessible to tenants are not accessible to all tenants. Market rate, affordable, which are third-party lease items, so you can have a gym in the building, the gym will operate it, so both the market rate, the affordable, everybody has to.
They took away my gym usage. I don't know what he's talking. We had a gym. We had a gym.
We leased, we had a gym, leased some access retail space to a third-party gym. Who they were gonna run their gym.
Is that gym access from the residential portion of the building?
No.
It's access from the street.
That's from the street.
No, that's not what we had.
No, I know, saying going forward.
Yeah, but just to be clear, I had used the gym the whole time.
Right.
The tenants did as well. They came, they took it away, they took away our lobby, they took away our access to the 15th floor, they took all of that away. I actually had a building-wide reduction of services order against DHCR. They tried to contest that. Despite how obvious it was.
And all right, what else for the letter?
How if it all, do these plans cover the store that's on the first floor of 353?
Oh, commercial space.
Yes.
So on 57th Street?
Yeah.
So that's not our space, not part of the development, it's a separate owner. And I think they have different leasing plans.
This is like is it 3 or 4 unit condominium in total?
Yes,
So there's like different spaces that are owned by different entities.
Definition of
And they have the lease on the condo that has the residential portion, right? Okay.
So. Related to that, I walked by the building today and there's a stop work order on 353. Is that pertaining to you?
Yes.
And it's pertaining for this issue or is that for another one? For this issue. And does your group own or operate any of the buildings in community board, this community board?
Any other building?
Yes.
No.
On floors 1 through 20.
I looked it up online.
Yeah, we have been, the community board has been back and forth on this work order, trust me, for the last like 3 weeks. So here's our trouble here. This has been officially referred to us. It's not entirely complete, right? Well, cities, right, but I mean, some of the basic things, like the financial things are not here to look at and understand this, right? We have a huge tenant issue that has come out in this discussion. I think that we can write a letter about this, but I don't think our letter should be an approval letter because there's so many items that are open. But we do have about 3.5 weeks to work with council member, HPD, to try to bring some things together, right? So one of the things that we do, Alberto, is we normally, as part of these discussions, get a commitment letter back from the owner. I'm gonna direct you to our website online. It'll show you the form of that. I dropped in there a letter to another owner about the inclusionary. And I think we want to get drafts of that going back and forth to understand what are we looking for. And I think the biggest thing we're looking for is figuring out a way to work with tenants and do temporary relocate, like renovate some floors, do some temporary relocation in this building, get people to a safe place. And then let the rest of the stuff happen. And individuals can choose, I'm in this unit, I want to go back there, but at least they're out of the construction zone to the greatest degree possible. And I think we need to bring this to HPD to say, this is not an abstract friggin' idea here. This is about resolution for everybody's lives. And I'm gonna really encourage them to like watch the video of this meeting. So they can hear that it's not this like piece of paper that we're voting on. Does that sound like the angle that we should be approaching? Yes?
So are we looking to like have a meeting?
Yeah, I'm gonna say that we should draft a letter, right? That picks up all these points that we talked about. And that sort of indicates that we would have approved this favorably, but there's all these outstanding items that need to be settled. And ask both Jesse and the good part here is that the first deputy commissioner at HPD formerly worked for Councilmember Brewer. And formerly worked for the borough president, formerly worked for de Blasio, and now works for Adams. And I think we need to bring someone at a high level into this discussion, because it is not just a quick plan to be reviewed and to be opined on and say, move these units here, fix those. The faucet should be the same, and the cabinet should be the same. This is a big, broader, how do we get quality of life back to people?
I think we get HPD and DOP to work together.
Right.
And then work with.
Like that hotel thing is just staggering to me.
Can I just ask a question for?
Well, I'm not saying that, so I'm saying that this is not, so normally we'd be like, oh, here's what it is. Do this, do that, negotiate, whatever. I think there's a little more to figure out here. But I believe it gives a better path for project completion and resolution. Also. Maria and then Ginny.
Alberto and Sal, I wasn't clear, you both live on the 24th floor?
Our office is there, we have a site office there, so we made that our office at all times. We use that apartment sometimes to stay, because it's not all apartment there.
He lives there.
But just to be clear and to address everything that was said before,
I didn't finish, I'm sorry. So it sounds like you're there sometimes and you have an office there. I'm just curious, have there ever been rats on the 21st floor or issues that the tenants have raised there?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
They renovated the floor, they renovated the apartment house.
The only thing I would say moving forward is when you're having discussions with the tenants and other stakeholders related to this, I would be just mindful and aware of the language that I use. There's something that you said that stuck out to me. There's two things that you said. One of them is like, I can't because of HPD versus I'd be willing, but I need more support in order to get this done, right? The other thing I heard you say is that we're like a victim. And that stood out to me because now after hearing every single person discuss the issues that they have to deal with on a regular daily basis, I think if I were going to use the word victim in this situation at all, it wouldn't be to describe your situation. It would be to describe what the tenants are going through.
Yes,
Okay.
amen.
And so it needs to be, I'm glad that we're having this discussion and the meetings that are gonna be coming moving forward so that this can be resolved.
JD?
Yeah, I don't know if this is appropriate, but I am deeply concerned, I think we all are, issues like dust, which is a tremendous health issue, and I hate to bring up the electricity again, but there's a danger to everybody in the building with loose wires. And is there a stop work order complete now, or is it partial?
There's a partial stop work order, but JD, repairs are never precluded by stop work order. But the broader issue you raised is that in Peggy's apartment or in yours, if there's something that is partially done, that is not good for health and safety going forward. It needs to be done entirely.
I'm talking right now, Joe.
Right.
What do we say right now?
I think we need to do, JD, is we're gonna ask, Raul, we're gonna contact these tenants to get a specific list of repairs apartment by apartment. Because we're gonna make that list as an attachment and a part of any action we're taking.
So there should be no more dust going on until this is resolved.
We don't, JD, we don't know until we talk to DOB what they're granted to do in full.
Well, I think we should say something, our council members here. They can't go back and breathe this dust.
Well, they are going home tonight and it is a mess. Well, okay, but I'm saying most people are going home tonight and it is a mess. And I don't want anybody to walk out of here to think that we have a magic wand that we wave and everything gets fixed at once. It doesn't.
Not fixed, but stop.
Right, I don't know, we don't know, because I asked the question, specifically what does a stop work order cover or not, and I'm told that these things are okay. Well, we have an ongoing issue, that we're coming to conclusion here, right? So, don't know.
Joe, let me just say this.
Yes,
We want resolution.
yes.
I would love to talk to, they've called me into meeting with them several times, but for not good reason. Like they wanted me to get 12 other tenants to sign a document. They literally called me and said, can you get 12 other tenants to sign a document saying that we have an arrest? But just last night, we discovered this. So they give us water because the water's not drinkable. Right? People take the water to wash up, to boil, whatever they do. The water they now are starting to give out says, not for sale in bottled deposit states. So where are they even getting the water from now? Like, they have no regard for following the rules.
So,
This is take this around.
I gotta say,
So that in New Jersey and I don't pay a bottle.
No, but this is what, no, let me tell you what's going on in our building. You come to the desk, how many bottles would you like? 4, 5, 6, like people take water to.
because they don't want to drink the water.
To wash up as well.
Right.
Right, so, but now we just noticed last night, like, they bring, is this legal water? Is this supposed to be is this supposed to
I'm
be?
gonna say honestly, in the universe of what we're dealing with, I'm less concerned about the viability of the
No, I
water.
agree, I'm just trying to.
I get you, that's
They
what I'm
have, they have a credibility problem.
Of course.
Next, Joe, you form of a motion you'd like to make.
Yeah, I have listed out these items
Yes.
as to be included in a letter, right?
Right.
That gives like, the letter is sort of, we would have approved this, if these things, but the biggest caveat we have is that the whole issue with the existing tenants is not resolved. That's the problem we got here, let alone everything else, right? Like an overall plan, this sounds like it's in a pretty good direction, but how do you deal with protecting people during construction and getting apartments renovated and not saying this crazy thing, oh, you gotta, settlement housing should not be sending out letters to individuals saying, if you want to be part of this, submit that. It's not even, it's as if it exists in some inclusionary wonderland as opposed to this ongoing series of harassment and
So
trauma.
do you want to convert that?
Well, I would make a motion.
Make a motion?
Yes, yeah, I'm not,
That's what I'm trying to get.
yes, I know you are, so.
The other one thing I would add is rents. We want to add to that the tenant should not have to pay rent.
I noted that, I said, rent forgiveness going back and going forward until TCO actually.
Motion,
But that's how
I
you do
can't
it.
make any motion.
well, make a motion.
I would say.
Second.
Discussion about the motion, yes. Sorry, Kate.
So. I'm sorry, I think I may have missed this earlier. You were saying that we're writing this letter, but we're also asking to meet with
Oh, yeah,
or?
we have already, Jesse already from a week ago is trying to get this meeting with HPD going already.
Okay, so we're,
Right, but I think we wanna know, it's not gonna be like, this is a wonderful thing, we approve it now, like. This is a bunch of huge issues, and this part looks very good, but these things must be resolved before this proceeds ahead.
We're not proving anything until these things are addressed.
Right.
and is the letter going to HPD?
No, the letter always goes to HPD, yes.
And then are we also formally asking the developer to include some new things?
Yeah, what we normally would do is start drafting from looking at this letter, and you know, all of our stuff's online, so you can. So we review it, here are the commitments we want from you, and we get a draft commitment letter and start working that back and forth.
So we're talking about two letters. One's going to HPD and that has all those conditions in it. And the other one is that we're gonna start working on a draft letter.
Right, but that will always get attached to our letter to HPD. So like, we have a letter from Gotham attached to this one that says, and here are the things that we agreed upon.
Almost a draft agreement, but they don't.
Yeah, but it's a commitment letter, saying, let's put this thing, whatever.
So we're gonna try and do both of those in the.
Well, we would always do both because they're joint, but the weird part here is, you know, we may opine on this at our October meeting, but it feels like there's more work to do here. That can move ahead. Bert?
I mean, just to add a little bit to the motion, I do think it is important to include that while every outstanding point needs to be addressed. You know, it's important to not delay this further.
An urgency to this.
It's an urgency
Yeah.
to tenants, but that we've seen, you know, delays on behalf of DOB and HPD in this process. And it would be important to impress upon them that, you know, we have to move forward. And also, you know, if ideally we can get some sort of letter passed through the October meeting because.
Oh, no, we will. I want to do a section of the letter though, that details, here's what tenants reported on, and their lack of services and things like that. But HPD should not just be going ahead and doing this for doing its sake,
No.
because it's too complex.
And I think we should balance those
That's right.
two, you know, competing priorities.
You have a last word.
Well, I just think I speak for all of the tenants that we would like a quick resolution, whatever we can do to help speed things forward. Because we've been living like this for 2.5 years and we're all just fed up with it.
We need to get
The move process forward.
We need to have it move fast, but get you well protected along the way. That's the problem that does not happen now.
I guess you have a seat at the table.
Sal?
So what I wanted to, I'm sure you're concluding now, I just wanted to explain from the developer side. Time is not on our side. When we borrow money or when we try to spend money or pay payroll, the more time it takes, the worse the project becomes. So it's in our best intent to try to complete the building and not leave in dust. It's not my intent for people to leave in that condition that they are. So what I'm trying to explain to the tenants from the owner side, the more time we take, the worse off we are. The higher the bills they are, the more delays it becomes, and the workers don't wanna come 1 or 2 plumbers at a time, they wanna come the entire plumber, fix the entire pipe and move on to the
And
next
that's why we talked to you about the idea, we work with tenants, to get people to move to a certain location, fix a goddamn floor, do something to get people out of the construction zone.
That's
so you can proceed ahead.
But they keep breaking the law, that's why there's so much delay,
Oh.
that's why there's so much delay.
Excuse me. And Sal, what you were just saying, I heard many tenants around the room say,
Yeah.
which is they would like, and even members here, this is urgent and we would like a quick resolution, right? So I'm glad we're all on the same page, it sounds like.
They need to stop breaking the law.
And can we wrap this?
Can I call the
Can we make
question?
a final?
What? All those in favor of this letter? Please raise your hand. All those opposed? All those present, not eligible? Roll. Well, thank you for your presentation, and thank all the tenants for coming and giving us all the information to figure out what to do.
And Ms. Brewer, these are not the developers who wanna work here. Whatever, we understand what the city's going through, it's all in the press.
You know, it's all depressing, Ms. Bruins, you know.
No, we're not done with our meeting. We
Apartment
have
building
next
is the
item.
best.
We'll take a 5-minute break for bathroom, 5-minute break, right?
Okay.
5-minute break, oh my God, how about a 3-minute break for the bathroom? Yeah. Yeah.
It's got to live.
No, we have another.
Joe, Maria, you guys are on mute.
Better?
Oh my God, thank you.
We're so sorry,
I don't
Nelly.
know how that happened.
No, it's okay.
Even though it would be dangerous.
No, JD, what you have is, you have people who have been in a job for 5 or 6 months who completely are not looking at the big picture. And the point of a harassment.
Saying no.
No, it's not even, that is not even in their consideration, because their consideration is, there's an application to create these units as part of a cure, blah, 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 and they don't at all look at the big picture. That is our job in this case, to say, you're not curing a problem here if you leave 27 units not touched. People living on top of each other with half a kitchen, 2 outlets, and then everyone else gets, we didn't, and that happened in the 45th Street building. We worked and got a number of the people to be part of the cure. And their units got legal, not legalized, but like brought up to code. So.
So I'm hoping we can wrap by 9:30.
Good, even earlier.
But I don't wanna, so the second item, the statement of district needs and budget requests. What we usually do is. We don't really go into it today. We do that at the next meeting. And did everyone get a chance to look at the email I sent? And
Yeah.
let me see, I think everyone sitting here at this table. Oh, maybe Kevin has.
Kevin's not in it.
Has been through this before.
No, Kevin has.
No, everyone but Kevin,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Oh, no, Katie.
Well, WPE, but not here.
And you were there for a public member.
Yeah.
And Lee was here prior, so he went through it.
Yeah, so you all sort of get how it works. I don't have to go into the details. I think what we'll do is, what I wanted to do was specifically send you the, even though you have the link already, I wanted to do it and be specific about sending you all an email with fiscal year 25, the capital and the expense, just so you can all look at it. Specifically, obviously, items for this committee, so that when we come back next month, we can talk about it and decide what we think needs to go at the top.
Wait, I'm sorry, say that again, right, so you're saying,
I'm saying at the top, meaning the priority, I'm sorry, again.
what are you saying that you wanna send us, is that, I was thinking, I know like some of the stuff we did last year.
The Excel spreadsheet,
Right.
basically, is what really we look at. And the budget task force.
For our committee.
Of things that we have talked about or asked for in the past.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so, and looking at what the responses were from the agency and thinking about what we wanna do moving forward, do we keep it, do we move it on the list? Do we
What's our
remove
priority?
it? What's our priorities, and what's the other, there's another. I can't remember, Roberta would remember, there's another section like CSA or CS.
No, it's a
Okay,
capital expense.
I don't know, I was thinking, whether it's continued.
Well, continued support, like, as we know, like, we have continued support in the slaughterhouse or something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
And can you also, when you send that to us, can you also just remind us what our priorities ended up being last year, like what we prioritized?
Yeah, but it's on the spreadsheet.
Oh, yes, it already is, yeah.
It is, and our committee does a lot of things because, housing.
The other thing is, if I don't send it within the next few days, you are welcome to send me a text. Maria, you said you were gonna send us an email. I am happy to receive reminders. Okay,
And would you be open for us to responding to that email before the next meeting? Of
course,
We
yeah.
can start
and
accumulating.
what I normally do is, if you haven't already noticed, I blind card and copy everyone, because we can't have a discussion through email.
Right.
So it's fine if you wanna send me comment, feedback, whatever, before the meeting. I think it's actually helpful. So we don't have to sit here for a really long time next month. I will be leading next month's meeting with, I'm not sure who yet, probably Dolores, I'm thinking. Dolores is not here. Probably gonna choose, I'll probably pick Roberta to co-lead with me if Dolores is not here. The other thing I wanted to do today, so I'm done with that. Any other questions or comments?
I would just note there's a budget task force meeting on the 23rd where there are opportunities to discuss this publicly if there is a desire to do so, but
The 23rd at what time?
At 5 p.m.
At 5 o'clock, before the 6:30.
Yes. There is no requirement that anyone here, except for one of you, well,
Right.
you, Maria, specifically attend, but.
Can I
it
have
is
someone
open.
else attend instead of me?
I plan on attending anyway, if that's helpful.
Just
I'm on attending.
Okay, I would say it's the 23rd.
It is a Monday.
It's
I
right
finished
before
break
the
at
exam.
6, I can't be there, okay. No, I'll make arrangements, okay.
If I could just add, I've
Yeah.
read through all that stuff.
I don't doubt for a second.
Just 2 minutes, not to take it. Sorry. What would you say you would think going forward, some possible ideas?
You mean for
New items?
new items or the things, so the
Either
things
or.
that are already existing,
Yes.
usually what happens is they stay, sometimes
They
they
stay
move,
there and
sometimes
then-
they move down.
But
That's about it.
eventually they get done and then they get into continuing support.
What I will tell you is that I'm aware, I don't know, well, I don't know if I can mention this, forget it, because it's related to something that I.
What
can't talk about.
What about new items? Either new, whatever, consider, or? No.
Everybody brings new items up during committee, that's one of our.
One thing that I would add is typically we pull new items from letters from the past year. So the past year from, I guess, November of 2023. And if we have not written about it, and we typically are not going to like add that specific item for our statement of district needs, though we could, as a committee, decide to write a letter about it in October if we, felt that it was important enough. And we had not previously written a letter on the subject.
And that's in the noteworthy part of my email, where I mentioned the highlights, like that's one of the 2 bullet points.
Like, so sometimes we get a project approved, and then some applicant will come and say, I need more money for something, or a service contract or something like that.
Yeah, just looking for like a trailer or a preview coming attraction for next week.
One thing that I find to be helpful is to also look at all the list of, or the archive on the Manhattan Community Board website of the letters. And that is sort of helpful for generating new items for those.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Next thing.
The next thing is,
Make one note before we can go next on, and that is for this whole issue of people gonna qualify in the Hudson Hotel, right? 80% of AMI, a single person, the max is 86,960. I'm going with the idea that the majority of people sitting in this room tonight would be qualified. Without any hard press. Maybe 1 or 2, not if they're working, whatever. But so these people should be figured out a way, we should fold them into this project,
yeah, definitely.
so they get benefit.
But I do have the impression that some feel very strongly that they don't want to share their financials.
No, but the point of it is,
They shouldn't have to, right?
what?
They shouldn't have to.
They
share
shouldn't
their
have to, they
ideas.
shouldn't have to, what I'm
Right,
saying.
so I think,
the fact that-
yes, I think we agree that their financials would qualify them, but I
Right.
think what we all agree that we want to help them get that benefit without having to apply or share.
It's one to be on better than grandfather than.
The
Grandfather.
If I can house 2 police detectives who made considerably more than that, I think these people, we can figure out a way to get them a renovated room. Sorry.
Nelly, did you say something happens at 9:30, but what is it? I don't remember.
We get kicked out?
No, I think the electricity, the internet, what happened?
No, that's not here.
No.
Chelsea, that's Chelsea Pier goes off.
Nothing yet?
No, we can stay to the,
No.
keep going. Next.
WPA.
So, yeah.
Okay, so the last thing is.
Everybody knows Chelsea, we can trust them.
So the last thing is, Joe and I had talked about something we wanted to do this
Yes.
month, and it's perfect given what happened yesterday. So yesterday after full board, we were sitting around some committee members, and not only committee members, other members from the board, and Gail Brewer walked by, and we were able to sit and chat with her. I don't know, it was like 45 minutes or an hour. We were able to just chit chat and build rapport, connection, and get to know each other, which was great. And then Katie and I took the bus with her. So that was fun. At any rate, so that's connected to the thing that Joe and I wanted to do was go around the room. Most of us know each other, but not everyone. Just go around the room and because I'm curious also about some of these things. is talk about, employment, housing, and committee. So employment, what you do now, and some highlights from the past, because that helps.
Background.
Yeah, that helps to give us ideas about like what your expertise is in, or how you can, what you can bring to the table, is how I would frame it. Housing, where do you live? In Chelsea Hill's Kitchen, and the type of housing that you actually have. Well, we already know about. The other thing I wrote, because sometimes I forget, the other committees that each member is on. And that is it. If we could start, where should we start? Let's start with you, Chad.
Okay, Travis Rogers, profession, I am the Senior Vice President of Diversity, Fairness, and Belonging at Rising Ground, which is the largest youth services nonprofit in New York City. We service 4 of the 5 boroughs and Yonkers. Prior to that, practicing attorney, we've been in the DEI space, we've done DEI for 10 years. I live in a co-op on 42nd Street, in Arbor. What was that thing? Oh, I don't know, public works, so this is the only one for me, so.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm also a social worker too.
Yeah. Wait a minute, what about me? I don't know. Does everybody?
With the chair.
Okay, that's true.
If you want to share.
No. Thank you.
Kevin Collins, I'm consulting now for Doctors Council at SEIU. I was executive director for Doctors Council at SEIU for a number of years. That's a healthcare union that represents physicians and dentists. Before that, I was also at SEIU elsewhere, representing nurses across the country. And other type of workers. I come also from a legal background. I live in Hell's Kitchen. And the other committee I'm on is live in Hell's Kitchen and Managers. I believe in the
I know housing, you live in housing.
Oh, I'm sorry, rent.
I'm sorry, rental.
Rent.
Okay.
Rent.
I'm John Daniel Nolan, I'm a former editor and magazine writer in the last chapter. And a playwright, and you know, stitching in a fifth wall. And the building. Owner of it. Where the owner is. The rent. But stabilized, I rent. I'm sure I'll be removed once. The city of yes.
Top floor, gotta go. 2 floors down.
But at the moment, I'm still there.
You have to mention, the other committees that you
Sorry,
lead,
I'm, on another committee, the land use committee.
and the other committee.
Very special committee.
I am the chair of the musical comedy committee. We lost Jeffrey, so.
Well, it's not getting together again.
But that is my most favorite committee. It is so much fun. Yeah.
You should go on YouTube and watch it.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Katie Savage, I live in Hell's Kitchen in a rental apartment, walk-up building. I have worked in women's high-end fashion. During the pandemic, I decided to drastically change my career, which led me to doing a lot of freelance work in sanitation, nonprofits, all sorts of stuff. I am currently now the deputy editor at west42ndstreet.com, which is a Hell's Kitchen based publication. And I'm on Waterfront Parks and Environment.
Thank you.
Pete Diaz, I lived in an SRO for about more than 40 years. I lived in all parts of the city except Brooklyn, though I went to school in Brooklyn. I'm an instructor. I teach babies, infants and toddlers, special needs, blind, and you name it. I swim. I'm also.
Can you teach me how to swim?
Yeah, I thought of doing the whole board. And I'm thinking of starting something at the Hudson, swim across Jersey and give them a few pointers. I've done public accounting for many years. I've handled Broadway shows with I also had a general contracting for, plumber, mason, carpenter, done roofing, I've done the wall. I'm also the member of the West Side Nickel Lines since since its inception.
Established.
Yeah, and I am a horologist, so that is, I make watches and build construct.
You're a Renaissance man.
Yeah. What else?
Swimming and
I keep time of everything, so. And what else, I represent the tenants. For the loans, and
And what's the other committee that you're on?
I'm on the transportation committee.
Okay. Transportation.
And a bunch of other committees across the city. I'm a tenant advocate.
Yeah, I was what I mean, that's like. They just-
I send you letters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you,
You
Pete.
know what?
So you all know that I live in a mice infested dust bowl. It's been tough, for sure, it's been tough. Let's see, I am currently semi-retired. I do private consulting, mostly international, so I do a lot in Central America. Prior to that, I was the finance director at a nonprofit here in New York called Action. Their mission was to provide business loans, startup business loans to people who would normally statistically be denied loans. So for example, usually people of color, usually women of color, convicted felons that are out of jail, have come out of jail, recovering drug addicts. Those are the kind of groups that are usually denied any business loans. So our nonprofit was geared towards them, finding them and providing them the capital and the training so they could start their own business. Unfortunately, with COVID, the small business sector got wiped out. Many of our clients just didn't make it. We lost a ton of money. So we ended up being absorbed by another lender, small business lender, not with exactly those different groups. So our operation in New York was closed and everything was moved to California. I chose not to move to
Wait,
California.
Raul, wait a minute. You're going on and on, wait a minute. Highlights for some.
Okay, all right. Well, prior to that, I was a portfolio and investment manager in Wall Street. I worked for 3 firms, Merrill Lynch, Prudential Securities, and UBS Bank.
And the other committee you're on.
WP, the waterfront parks.
Waterfront Parks,
The environment, yes.
WPE, Liam.
Hello, I'm Liam Buckley. I live in a co-op on 39th and 9th. I live at home with my parents, which is just as fun as it sounds.
That's your co-op.
It's not, it's their co-op, yeah. I'm
You
hoping,
have roommates.
I'm hoping that when City of Yes kicks out JD.
That's a warm thing. I know. Warm go,
Professionally, I am a press and communications aide to Governor Kathy Hochul. Before that, I was deputy press secretary to Lieutenant Governor Antonio Delgado, and a bunch of other politics government jobs before that. And I am also on the transportation plan.
And how many years will it take you to be CD4 chair?
30 at least.
No, it will take less. Okay. You have to be chair before you become elected, I'm just saying. Okay, Kate.
I've moved out of my parents' house before. Yeah.
Then you can
Say
consider
something nice about your
Then you
parents
can
out there.
consider.
It really, it is on YouTube forever.
I have the sense that the same way he feels about living there, the same way his parents.
Right. So, I live in an apartment, in a co-op in Chelsea and lived there for 26 years, raised 2 kids, and I think they would feel the same way right now. They have actually moved out with roommates, and I'm living in Manhattan. And let's see, I was a practicing lawyer for, I don't know, 16, 18 years or something, but then retired.
What kind of law?
So I did international law, like nothing at all useful that anybody else could use. Yeah, nothing at all useful. But then I became very involved in public school stuff here in the city, and I was a PTA president for 13 years and on all sorts of DOE committees. Actually, did some citywide stuff and at Nest for 13 years. So anyway, got very involved in DOE stuff. And let's think what else. And so now I serve on a couple different boards, including BRC. Many people know I've served on their board for many years. And I serve also on the board of the Webster, which used to be here in the district.
Yes.
And it's, but now we've.
I don't remember.
It's a women's,
The old Macy's shop girls.
yeah, exactly. So it's for women starting out in the city, and it was started for, originally. And it was on 34th
We
Street.
tried to help them. No, they relocated. We tried to help them. That whole Lalazarian deal, trying to figure something out and keep them there.
So
whatever.
what's there now?
So, we sold, the Webster sold the building on 34th Street, and now we're, developing a building in, and they are, the building or the people we sold to, I think they are student housing.
Say it is student housing.
Yeah. And what else am I?
The other committee.
And the other committee I'm on is ACES.
Yeah. And then Roberta, and then we'll do Paul, Ames. Roberta?
Hi, Roberta Barnett, Chelsea. For work, I work on housing policy. I currently work in the state legislature, but have previously worked at HPD. And specifically at HPD worked heavily on vouchers, and very much cared about ensuring that tenants are able to remain in place. I think that we can have development without displacement. That's a very core belief of mine, and I think one of the boards as well. It's just about how to balance that to ensure that we're properly protecting tenants. And
It's just more complicated. That's why we're able to do it. It's more complicated.
yes, and there are certainly things we could do to improve the city of Houston. But it's neither, so.
What did you vote on that?
If you don't know.
Vote on that, Roberta? What did you vote on that? I don't remember.
You don't remember?
I sort of know, but I didn't think I do now.
I mean, I blacked out, so I have no idea.
Good answer.
Yeah. I'm working in housing will probably, and it is a passion and vocation of mine as like a lifelong New Yorker that people are able to
And
make here.
Educational background. You always studied policy and.
I studied Chinese history and politics,
exactly.
and then decided that I didn't want to leave New York, because New York's the greatest place on planet Earth, and that's why, and the West Side in particular, and so that's.
Did I hear you say passion?
Yeah, sure.
But what were you saying? I missed, because we went really low, so I missed it.
The housing work that I wind up doing, just being able to ensure that people are able to stay here if they want to, in the places that they want to, and that when people, like New York is a refuge for people who either are moving out of their parents' house, but also just people who might otherwise be infringed upon, who might not have the same abilities and opportunities.
Right.
It's a beautiful promise, and one that is dear to me personally as someone whose family was, for generations absolutely, changed by being able to be here and have the opportunities, educational, housing, proximity transit, and otherwise. I would like that.
So you were born in Chelsea?
No. Okay, in fact, fun fact, my
Where?
parents did at one point live in the Armory. When they were original converters to the Armory.
Or that was a while.
Yeah. I mean, they're old.
They're old.
Well,
They're old, so it converted.
The late eighties, I believe.
Yeah.
No, so it converted prior to that though, so I've heard this from people before, it converted prior to that.
It converted to co-ops in the late eighties.
Gotcha, right, yeah,
It's still loose farm renovation, trust me.
Yeah, good.
Um,
But no, but
and you rent your room.
correct. Oh, and shall be.
It's gonna fall.
And wait, one more thing. Ready, the other committee here, at WPE, yeah, got strong belief here.
Hey, Paul, who are you?
Hey, hello. Yeah, well, I realize a lot of this is your fault, Joe. I moved to West 50th Street in 1981, my wife and I. And at the time, it was, I heard of the building from a friend I was doing dinner theater with, and we went to look at it, and God, it was a horrible building. We saw it at about 4:30 on a November afternoon. It was dark, and the steps were falling apart, and it was horrible. But we wanted a place to to live, and the place we were in was lovely. It's at 72nd and Broadway, but my then roommate got a little bit tired of us having to walk through his bedroom to get to the shower. And anyway, you get the idea. So we moved into this building. We moved into this building, and for about, I'd say 3 or 4 months, we were paying 2 rents. It was a good introduction to Hell's Kitchen because the folks, the nice folks, they moved out of what became our home and still is our home because they qualified for the housing deal that turned Polyclinic Hospital into affordable housing right down the street from us. Famous, of course, as the hospital where Rudolph Valentino died. Anyway, we were paying 2 rents for about 4 months because people had been living in this building, but it was not really quite livable. It was terrible. And
Wait a minute, Paul, what is Joe's fault?
I'm sorry?
What was Joe's fault?
Wait, I'll get to that. Joe and HTC helped us organize the building, you see. And we were do-it-yourselfers, and we did it ourselves, and we figured out how to do stuff. And to this day, the co-op is self-managed. So that was that, and we've been there for a very long time, and we learned how to invent a co-op with the help of HTC and Joe and a lot of other folks. And the building's still there, but it was a great education. It's the next thing that Joe was involved in was
Wait a minute, Paul, I need to stop you, Paul. What do you do now if you're working or what, yeah, how do you?
Well, one of the things what I'll tell you is I keep old buildings from falling down, both in the city there in that co-op and out in New Jersey. You see that ceiling behind my head? That's a family home. It's been in my family since about 1939. And before I close it up for the fall, I'm going to paint that ceiling and a lot of other. That's what I'm getting at. So
Paul forgets Benjamin Franklin, right?
That was yes, that was one of my commercial triumphs. Yeah. Happily, I arrived in New York City to be an actor on Broadway. Did fine, enjoyed it, did some national tours, but then discovered commercials. So if you had a television and you turned it on anytime between about 1979 and 2014 or so, that was my most recent spot. So you probably saw my mug selling something. Happily, it was possible to make a good living doing that if you were very lucky, and I was, but I was in the right place at the right time. But now with some of that dough, I bought an old building out in New Jersey, and I still have it, and it's a lovely thing, but it requires a lot of work. But I learned how to do that in our little co-op in New York. Yes.
Are you you're a public member? Have you been a CB4 member before?
No, my introduction to CB4 was the great air rights issue of 1998. Joe was part of that meeting over there. I was elected to council at Actors Equity. I served about 10 years. So I got to look at unions.
That was 1988.
No.
See, I'm old enough to be shaving off a couple of years. Not a decade.
No, Joe, that air rights was 1998. It was right before I was elected to council. I remember it very well. Let's go back. Let's both go back and check it. But yeah, it was 1998.
What council?
Actors
Beg your pardon?
Oh, thank you. Actors Equity Council.
Yes, the Council of Actors Equity is the body that sets policy for the union. That's right. Yeah.
Thank you.
And that is it. Thank you.
So I just want to note for the record, Paul is in an HDFC, that HPD, I'm not kidding, brought a 7A proceeding against a bunch of buildings. And at that point in time, the owners just said, listen, we'll give you the buildings. And 2 buildings were purchased for $6,000. Well, I'm not joking, $6,000. And this 10-unit co-op eventually became an affordable co-op from there. It's a different time today.
There's a book that someone out of Princeton wrote called Affordable Housing in New York. And I think they talk about every type of affordable development, but yes, you're in the history books.
Maria, to you.
Oh, what do I want to share with you real quick? Born and raised in Hell's Kitchen, Chelsea. Lived in Chelsea, Elliott, and Amsterdam houses and on 50th. Oh, I'm telling you my whole life. Oh, work. Focus. Okay. I'm a licensed social worker right now. I'm a psychotherapist. I work at Ryan Health. And I love what I do. I can't believe it. And because of COVID, that's how I ended up making the shift. But I got, prior to that, I had my social work degree since 2014, and mostly I've worked in child welfare. I haven't been able to use that expertise here at CB4 a lot, but I did 13 years working in child welfare. And yeah, and I like to, let me pat my back a little here. I have a bachelor's and a master's in forensic psychology, and then a master's in social work. Yeah, and I live, it's Joe's fault that I'm still sitting in this seat. I would have liked to have left a while ago, and I didn't. I also think it's Joe's fault about where I live. I live in a rental. Okay, it's an 80-20. And what's the last name? Cases. And Travis is rushing me, so okay, it's your turn.
Yeah, so people know me a lot, like say a few things you don't know, okay?
Yeah.
So I was raised in a family business, butcher shop on the North Belleville line. That total family stuff that we lost in the late 1960s, subsequent to the North riots, because the area was devastated, and the trauma of losing a family business and everyone involved in it was really made an impression on me. I have 32 first cousins. This is a humongous Italian family. Wow. And here's the part that you'll appreciate. I'm the quiet one. No. They're just so much louder than I ever possibly be. And I have my formative has been living in this neighborhood. I'm in my apartment for 44 years. And like Paul's building was a palace compared to our building. There were no windows, there were fires. It was really just holding on by a thread, but it was occupied, full of long-term people. And those long-term neighborhood residents really informed me on how to approach the neighborhood, what to do, how to do things. And when I was recruited to the community board, a member, woman named Maria, she's 90 something now. She was part of the McManus Club. She once said to me, here's the story. When we're among ourselves, we can have blood on the floor. When we walk out, we speak with one voice. And she told me that like in a church basement at Holy Cross after a meeting about like the 10 Square project. So that's truly informed me in how I approach things, that it's always great to be totally raucous and figure it out, but then when we get out public, we just swallow it, make one voice. So I think those are things you may or may not know. You know that already?
No. I'm familiar. You've said it a couple times.
No, that I said in one voice. Yeah, but trust me, butcher shop.
The butcher shop, I was not familiar.
Made a major, So, and I'm on land use committee. And also engage with every land use thing possible, because I get recruited to the land use area.
And I would just highlight the last thing he mentioned, that story about the one voice thing. I also think that's important. Yeah, we can do whatever we want when we're not in public.
That's right. So I think this is actually useful, right? little,
Yeah.
get an idea, like international law, I never would have in a million years.
Who would?
Right? And we have, we have an investment fund manager sitting amongst us, this is great.
Were you the Big Short?
No, I was not in it unfortunately, but,
But thank you everyone for coming tonight,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roberta, second by Kevin, all
Thank
those
you.
in favor, say goodnight.
Vote with your feet.
Good night.
Vote with your feet. Bye, Paul.
Help.